Welcome. Our story begins at the training ground. Previously, this was one of the city's districts, where monsters now live, devouring the remains of people. But still, some things have remained unchanged, thanks to adaptation. In modern reality, there is a hunter for everyone. A moment ago, you might have been at the top of the food chain, but now, you yourself have become a victim. In general, with the appearance of monsters, life has become unpredictable. Every day can be the last. And this monster, the size of a small plane, is just a purple electric eagle, nicknamed the King of the Skies, rank A, and you can be sure that he deserved his nickname. One such monster can easily destroy an entire squadron of 6th-generation fighters. You might be wondering, how do people survive then? And this is what we will find out about now. At the moment when the monster was most vulnerable, a shot rang out. The shooter was a student of the 3rd senior school, Jack Bullet, who is currently mastering the profession of a Rune sniper. Now Jack, along with his classmate Dean, who was mastering the profession of a Rune swordsman, were undergoing tests in a simulation. Unfortunately, our hero's first shot missed its target, but Jack is not one to just give up, and if something doesn't work the first time, he will try to do it again. Having loaded a special cartridge into the clip, the guy took a deep breath and smoothly pulled the trigger. Shot! And the bullets rushed straight into the electric eagle. The first bullet passed just a few millimeters near the tail, while the second hit the right wing. But this was not enough to kill the beast. And finally, the third bullet, with an armor-piercing tip, hit the electric eagle right in the neck, after which the monster fell dead to the ground. The purple electric eagle's feathers are as strong as steel. However, Jack knew that his only vulnerable spot was his neck, which he would never show unless he was confused. That's why he fired the first few shots chaotically. Even though Dean hadn't contributed anything to the killing of the monster, he was as happy as a little child with a new gift. It was too early to relax. Behind him, our hero heard a quiet growl. Turning around, the guy saw nothing, but the sound became louder and louder. A pair of bright red eyes appeared in the crack between the destroyed walls. Soon, a huge red and black horn began to appear. Realizing that he had been noticed, the monster went on the attack. Dean didn't expect that the monster could attack from behind, and this resulted in the beast cutting his body in half. This meant that today's tests were over for him. After his death, only 2 runes remained of Dean. In modern realities, runes are the main weapon of people. In close combat, snipers are not the most effective fighters, but everything depends on the individual approach to the situation. This is a horned white wolf, a B-rank monster possessing the speed of a lion and the strength of a rhinoceros. Perhaps not the most convenient opponent for Jack. It was planned that Dean would fight the beast in close combat, but in the modern world, things often don't go according to plan, and rune masters must be prepared for any situation. Having taken a favorable position, our hero opened fire. The monster's frontal armor turned out to be stronger than he thought. Even his armor-piercing bullets could not penetrate it. As the guy expected, the third trial test turned out to be very difficult. Realizing that there was no time to waste, Jack began to improvise. The guy decided to try to break through the monster's armor from above. The guy had no equal in sniper rifle shooting. He sent all his shots right on target, trying to find the horned wolf's vulnerable spots. But not one of the bullets was able to penetrate the armor. The situation is critical. It is impossible to kill the monster, and trying to escape from it is stupid. But life taught Jack something interesting. You can find a way out of any situation, except for the coffin. At this moment, our hero noticed that the entire ceiling was supported by one steel rod, and the plan itself arose in his head. Although it is very risky, it is worth a try. Waiting until the horned wolf was right under the ceiling, Jack fired at the rebar that held up the remains of the ceiling. Huge concrete slabs fell right on the monster's head, and since the building was already half destroyed, not only the ceiling fell on the wolf, but also the upper floors. In general, this was enough to immobilize him but not kill him, and only killed monsters count towards the challenge. Now that the situation had stabilized, Jack turned his attention to the runes that Dean had left behind. Without thinking twice, the guy picked them up. Unfortunately, these were not runes, but only stones with part of their powers. Infused with runic energy, weapon stones can transform into runic weapons themselves. In this case, it is a two-handed sword, which is quite logical, because these stones remained after the swordsman's death. With its help, Jack planned to finish off the horned rhinoceros. Although our hero was not strong in handling cold weapons, but he still had enough strength and skills to behead the monster. This completed the test. Completion time, 5 minutes, 42 seconds. Ratings, Jack Bullet, S. Dean Cornett, C. As you might have guessed, all of this was just a simulation. In fact, the guys weren't risking their lives at all. They were in special capsules, controlling their avatars. The simulation capsules were located right in the Academy's educational building. Absolutely all students had to pass exams in these simulations in order to enter the Academy. Leaving the capsule, Dean shouted with displeasure, "Curator, you said that the purple electric eagle would be the last." "Cornett, is there a problem?" "The horned wolf was an additional task, which you handled poorly, by the way," the curator answered indifferently. This year, the entrance exams turned out to be very difficult for most applicants, when suddenly there was the sound of broken glass, followed by a devastated female voice. "Damn! I didn't expect any additional tasks." Instinctively, the boys looked at the source of the noise. It turned out to be a student of the third old school and the heiress of the martial arts school, Alice Chan, nickname High School Demoness. Seeing her furious face, Jack said, "Calm down a little. Otherwise, you'll have to pay compensation for the damage to public property." Without saying a word, Alice grabbed the guy by the shirt and pulled him towards her. "Do you hear me, Jack? So you want to say that you killed the horned wolf?" the girl asked with wild eyes. "Yeah, I did," Jack answered timidly. But then their conversation was interrupted by the curator. Silence. Everyone shut up. In the real world, rune beasts won't give you a minute to catch your breath. Even if you have the skills to kill a rank A beast, you can still die at the hands of a rank B beast. This time only one student managed to kill the main boss. "Bullet, please come and collect your results," the curator added thoughtfully. While our hero was looking at the exam results, Dean and Alice were happily shouting his name. And one of his classmates, out of envy, even tried to trip him up. But on Jack, such childish ones work. Noticing a classmate's foot, he simply stepped on it. When suddenly, this same guy shouted, "It doesn't mean anything anyway. Only those who have received at least 610% of the rune energy will become warriors. We will become the elite, and you will go clean up the trash." But Alice, who had 92% of the rune power, quickly shut their mouths. Despite her hot temper, she managed to make friends with Jack and Dean. And now, as the most promising student, she protects them from such idiots. "Alice, don't be mad. They are right. Only those who receive more than 60% of the rune energy can awaken as a rune warrior. And I only got 27%, Jack said sadly. It all started in 2030. Until that time, humanity was living its best era. But in 2030, many wormholes began to appear all over the world. For several months, meteorites fell to the Earth, which ultimately completely destroyed civilization. Faced with the apocalypse, people seemed like specks of dust. During the meteor shower, a third of the entire population of the planet was destroyed, or more precisely, killed. And when everyone thought the apocalypse was coming to an end, something much worse happened. The Earth has been invaded by creatures from another dimension known as rune beasts. They were aggressive, and there were many of them. Even nuclear weapons could not kill a high-ranking runic beast. Cities were destroyed. People lived in fear, constantly hiding, trying to survive, until the first rune warrior appeared. Blessed with rune energy, the warrior could activate runes and become stronger. Over time, such warriors became more numerous, and humanity began to resist in an attempt to protect its last home. Having driven out the enemy, the humans built a wall and created a barrier of runic energy to protect themselves from the monsters and allow ordinary people to live their lives. But the end of the war between people and rune beasts is not yet soon. After a hard day at the academy, Jack went to work. You could say he was a courier. Our hero had a very unusual habit of playing pranks on his colleagues. This time, he entered the company's office by kicking down the door, after which he greeted everyone with a casual air. Although many people didn't like Jack's behavior, everyone loved him for his sincerity. "Hey kid, next time knock before you come in. I thought it was the police," Derek said with a smile on his face. Derek is the head of the company our hero works for. As you might have guessed, they are smugglers. Jack has little work today. He needs to deliver one parcel to Renmin Road, and his commission is a whole $1,000. The guy knew Derek was doing something illegal, but he needed money for Scarlet's treatment, and he needed a lot of money. This package was very different from those that our hero had delivered before, so he asked Derek what was in it. "Have you forgotten the rules? Don't ask unnecessary questions," Derek answered, hitting Jack on the head. The man was aware of our hero's current situation, which is why he hired him despite the fact that he was still a student. With each delivery, Jack is given a route to follow, as the police have recently begun to more actively track down smugglers. They also had one more rule. If you were caught, they forgot about you. A cruel rule, but that's the job. If you want to earn good money, take risks. Despite the fact that our hero has not been in this business for very long, he does his job well, which is how he earned the trust of the team and Derek. The orders bring in a lot of money, but Jack spends all of it only on his beloved sister. The guy was driving along the laid-out route, and everything was fine, until he drove into the gateway. Where the police were, they were conducting a special operation. They didn't know that Jack was a smuggler, so they wanted to conduct a routine check. The guy knew that if he got caught, he would face at least 5 years in prison, so he tried to escape from the police. As expected, the police called for reinforcements. Although they didn't have a description of the smugglers, they did have a description of their transport. And can you imagine? It was a red moped. In an attempt to escape pursuit, Jack began driving through narrow streets, hoping that the police car would simply not fit through them. And after a couple of minutes, that's what happened. The guy managed to hide in a narrow alley. The guy had never felt such adrenaline. He was overwhelmed with joy that he had managed to escape punishment. Jack lost his vigilance and didn't notice how the front wheel of his motorcycle ran over a banana peel. He ended up losing control, falling out of his seat and hitting his face on the pavement. Coming to his senses, the guy whispered, "Why am I so unlucky today? I hope the goods are okay." Seeing the open box, the guy screamed, "Oh no, where is he?" While looking around to find the contents, Jack discovered something strange. In the corner lay 2 eggs of the runic beast, one red and one blue. Now it was clear why they paid so much for delivery. They say that by the color of the egg, you can determine what kind of monster is inside. Jack was very lucky that the police didn't catch him, because transporting such things in the world is punishable by life imprisonment. Having put the eggs in their places, the guy noticed that one more was missing. And if there's anything missing from the package, Derek will kill him. After looking around, he finally found the remaining egg in the trash can. To his surprise, it turned out to be lighter than the others, and upon examining it, he saw that it was cracked. When suddenly, he heard a strange sound behind him. Turning around, Jack saw a purple stream flying towards him. Luckily, his skills were enough to dodge it, and the explosion drove away where the attack hit. Jack had seen something like this before, so he knew who he was about to meet. This is a C-rank monster, Bone Spider. Its body is completely covered with strong armor. It is distinguished by its special cruelty and high intelligence. It is afraid of fire. Our hero had only a military knife as a weapon because of the hardened steel, and this was clearly not enough to penetrate the armor of such a monster. Like any monster, the Bone Spider has vulnerable areas. Dodge his attacks, Jack went on the attack. With a precise blow, the guy hit the joint between 2 armor plates, but it still wasn't enough. As expected, ordinary weapons are no match for him. Even though he's just hatched, how could he be beyond the power of a mere human? While our hero was thinking, the Bone Spider did not hesitate and began to counterattack. Jack knew that sooner or later, he would have to face danger in the real world, and he had long ago come up with a plan for such a case. The plan is simple, but no less effective. Just run away. Well, as has already been said, the Bone Spider has a high intelligence, so it will not let its victim go so easily. The monster blocked the exit with its web. Dead end. Jack is alone with a high-ranking monster without the necessary weapons. While the guy was thinking, the Bone Spider grabbed his leg and began to drag him towards himself. Before killing, monsters of this kind usually torture their victims, so it looks like our hero will face a terrible death. No matter how hard he tried, his knife couldn't cut the web. In the moments when the spider was preparing for the final attack, time seemed to slow down. Jack understood that this was his end. He didn't feel sorry for his life because it was pretty lousy. He was only worried about his sister because she wouldn't live long without him. And even while bleeding, he thought only of Scarlet. Having immobilized our hero, the spider hung him on a lamppost and began to weave a cocaine around him. Thinking about what was happening, Jack realized that his classmates were right. Despite all his skill, without the power of the runes, he was not able to defeat even a newborn monster. But sister, this is not the only reason he wanted to live. As a child, he promised that he would give everything to avenge his parents. And now, this feeling of revenge gave him the strength to fight for his life to the last. At the moment when his heart was filled with a sense of revenge and malice, a system notification appeared. Fate is for the weak. The strong build it themselves. Change everything. Will you use it? After which a selection window appeared. Do you accept the system? Don't hesitate for a second, Jack shouted. Yes. Hell yes. As long as I have the chance to become a rune warrior and get revenge, I will do everything. The system boot has been completed successfully. The system healed our hero's wounded body and gave him 10 attribute points for free as a starting bonus. Along with the new system, Jack also received a personal warrior window, where his progress will be displayed. Not understanding what was happening, the guy whispered in a trembling voice, "Attribute points? Like in games or what? It doesn't matter, I don't have enough strength right now, so I'll use them all on her." By putting all his free attribute points into strength, Jack literally felt his body fill with power. But the surprises didn't end there. The system gave daily quests. Destroy a rune monster of rank C to get a way to improve energy. Now it seemed absolutely crazy, because it is impossible to increase your percentage of rune power. But there is no time to think about it now. The main thing now is to kill the bone spider. After all the attribute points were successfully learned, Jack easily escaped from the web. He didn't even have to fight to feel stronger. Luckily, he wasn't stupid enough to think he could defeat the bone spider with brute force alone. Every monster has vulnerabilities, and the bone spider is fire, but where can you get it? Noticing the wrecked motorcycle, Jack realized he could use gasoline as a fire source. Dodging the attacks, the guy lured the monster into a trap. The guy opened the gas cap and pushed the motorcycle with his foot. As planned, all the remaining gasoline began to leak out of the gas tank. These spiders are afraid of fire and have poor eyesight. They use the hairs on their bodies to read the movements and location of their prey. Knowing this, Jack threw a small stone right onto the edge of the puddle of gasoline. Since this monster is still a newborn, it has not learned to distinguish sounds. So instinctively, hearing some noise, I went on the attack. And that's exactly what Jack was counting on. The spider landed right in a puddle of gasoline. Caught in his favorite lighter, the guy whispered, "You're in trouble." Even though it is just a newborn monster, defeating it will mean much more to our hero. This victory is a symbol that he can become a rune warrior and fulfill his dream. As soon as the lighter touched the gasoline, the monster immediately caught fire and died a second later. System: you have successfully completed the mission. You have received one way to improve the energy of the runes. And in this way, it turned out to be like this strange bottle with an incomprehensible symbol, which didn't really bother Jack, as long as it worked. I don't doubt for a second that he drank its contents. In that moment, he felt a strong pain, which was replaced by a feeling of free flight. But what is more important, the energy of the runes rose to 56%, and the effect of a single use was simply amazing, but it was still not enough. He needed more than 60% to become a warrior, and the next mission will be available in exactly 24 hours. But the surprises didn't end there. A magic rune fell out of the spider's corpse. On the black market, such items can cost tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the supply. After picking up this rune, Jack heard the sound of approaching police cars. Of course, there might be some problems with one egg being missing, but since the product is illegal, it's unlikely that the buyer will make a big fuss. Having collected his thoughts, our hero grabbed his motorcycle and began to run away from the police sirens. Since the goods were damaged, the guy decided to take them home, to come up with a plan to get out of this situation. On the way, he thought about everything that was happening, and his physical strength really did grow, which meant that the system was not a figment of his imagination. This means that he really has a chance to become a rune warrior. But first of all, he needs to decide what to do with the animal eggs. It is said that the monster's meat contains runic energy, and an ordinary person can become stronger by eating it. However, these are just rumors. There is a risk that the remaining eggs also contain bone spiders, which do not look particularly appetizing. Jack's 8-year-old paralyzed sister Scarlet was waiting for him at home. Despite her difficult fate, the girl remains cheerful and even found a hobby. She loves studying runic animals. Noticing the blood stains on his brother's shirt, Scarlet shouted, "Jack, are you hurt?" The guy laughed and replied, "No, I just fell off my bike, don't worry." "Why are you lying to me? I can see that all your clothes are covered in blood." Scarlet continued, holding back tears. "Hey, it's just paint. I got it when I fell," Jack answered uncertainly, when suddenly, anxiety turned to joy, and the girl screamed, "Wow, brother, how long have you been so muscular?" Puzzled, Jack looked at his body and realized that his muscles had become 3 times larger. This means that the attributes directly affect his physical characteristics. "Scarlet, I'm currently undergoing intensive training for exams. It's probably because of them," Jack added, embarrassed. "Brother, even if you don't become a rune warrior yourself, I'm sure you'll marry a cool warrior. With a body like that, many people are crazy about you," Scarlet said, laughing. Trying to change the subject, Jack quietly pulled a stuffed dinosaur out of his jacket. Snatching it from her brother's hands, Scarlet cried out joyfully, Thank you very much. Where did you get the money?" Feeling proud, Jack replied, "It doesn't matter. Soon I'll become a rune warrior, and everything will change." Hearing this, Scarlet asked excitedly, "Jack, have you been riding without a helmet again? You seem to have a concussion." "It's actually a shame. Roll away," our hero answered rudely. After one incident, Scarlet became paralyzed in the lower part of her body, and she has to sit in a wheelchair all day. You could say she was lucky because she survived, even though their life is not easy. But having a system changes everything. With it, Jack will definitely become a warrior. Rune Wars. In the modern world, this is a class of people with an endless amount of money. They can join the military and receive a huge number of rewards and benefits. Upon joining the company, they will rise to the position of vice president with a minimum annual salary of $1 million. There are also warriors who band together to hunt rune beasts in the wild. If they manage to catch a rare animal, there is a chance to get an immeasurably large sum for it. So in order to save Scarlet, Jack simply has to become a rune warrior. After the goods were not delivered, Derek and his company received some visitors. Business is dangerous, and you have to do business with serious people. Derek had a choice. Either he returns the goods, or there is no tomorrow for him. This is not the first time the man has worked with this client, and he knows that his threat is not an empty word. And here is the customer himself, Tyler, nicknamed the Bouncer. He got his nickname because he owns an underground fight club and is known for his cruelty. In this dire situation, Derek fell to his knees and screamed, "Tyler, I swear I gave your merchandise to a schoolboy named Jack Bullet, and now I can't get in touch with him. He's probably been arrested. If so, that's too bad. Even I can't afford to cross the path of the buyer of this product." Tyler answered, lighting a cigarette. Derek begged to give him a couple of days to return the goods. "No, I'll send someone to look for this bullet myself." "You idiots," Tyler added indifferently. "Boss, he's an ordinary student. There's no need for you to deal with this personally," Derek said anxiously, for which he received a couple of strong blows to the face. It is not in his power to tell Tyler what to do. Besides, the Bouncer wanted to know about our hero. Derek said Jack was a 3rd grader in high school. "I don't know anything," but this information was enough. Tyler ordered his lapdogs to find the boy and bring him to him. These guys are very serious people, and I would not advise you to cross paths with them in a dark alley. The next morning, as befits a diligent student, Jack went to the academy. Before leaving, he warned Scarlet not to open the door to anyone, even under the pretext of death. Our hero can't carry rune beast eggs with him. He had to hide them at home until he figured out how to get rid of them. As soon as the guy left the house, someone immediately started following him. Feeling the unexpected touch, Jack became frightened and grabbed the stranger's hand. Luckily, these strangers turned out to be his best friend, Dean. "And remember, never sneak up behind me again. And now get lost," Jack said roughly. He was so rude to his friend for one simple reason only. He knew that he would definitely be followed. But despite this, Dean still walked with him all the way to school, when suddenly Jack received a daily task: drive away the gangster and get a talisman of increasing the energy of the runes. Looking around, our hero immediately understood who they were talking about. These two stood out among the students. When suddenly Dean said, "What's a fat and crying dragon doing here?" Surprised, Jack asked, "Do you know them?" Of course, not the most famous gangsters in our area, the guy answered. Given yesterday's events, Jack had no doubt that they were coming for him. He was no match for them at the moment, so it was best not to mess with them, fortunately or not. It also occurred to these two idiots to pester Alice. Grabbing a brick from an unfinished fence, the boys were ready to get into a fight to help their friend. Of course, it would have been much more reasonable to call the police, but there was no time for that. With a well-aimed throw, Jack hit the fat dragon right on the head with a brick. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to knock him out, but it was enough for them to turn their attention to him. And at that moment, Alice made a fatal mistake. She screamed, "Jack, don't try to be their equal." "So it's you, Jack. It's good that you found yourself. We want to talk to you," the bandits said with creepy smiles. After which the crying dragon swung his arm and said, "How dare you make us look for you?" As Jack had expected, he was being hunted for the beast eggs. He had spent his level-up points on agility yesterday, so he easily recovered from the blow. Now he's not just fast, he's able to counterattack, which, combined with his increased strength, changed the situation. For the bandits, it was a real surprise how strong Jack was. But if they don't carry out Tyler's orders, they won't live. While the crying dragon was busy with our hero, the fat dragon decided to grab Alice to force Jack to surrender. But he didn't take into account the fact that Alice would be stronger than the guy. With one deft blow, she knocked out his eye. Just imagine, two Grozny gangsters lost to a bunch of school children, and it was all filmed on video, and they began to shout, "We wanted to be good, but you asked for it." After which, the bandits unleashed their full Rune potential, which was terrifying to say the least. Both of them were F rank. For some reason, it seemed to them that even with such a level of strength, the students of the professional academy were no match for them, and they were only convinced of this when Jack tried to hit one of them. For some reason, the guy's fist didn't even touch the man, and it looks like our heroes are in serious trouble. More precisely, they could have been, if someone had not intervened in the battle. With one light blow, the stranger was not only able to break through the defense, but also hit them on the head quite painfully. This stranger turned out to be a Rune warrior of the E rank, Sam, Alice's father and part-time owner of martial arts halls. Even though his rank is not high, he compensates for it with his skill. Realizing that they were facing a Rune warrior of a higher rank, the bandits decided to simply run away. But they still had to catch our hero. As a parting gift, Jack threw another brick at them, so to speak, a small gift, and lo and behold, he hit the target again. Although there is nothing surprising about it, he is a sniper after all. After the bandits ran away, the system notified that the daily task had been completed. Sam asked curiously, "Honestly, Dad, we don't know," Alice said. "Next time, try avoiding people like that," the man added thoughtfully. After which Andrew just left the elderly children have a good day. "Now spill it, Jack. Those guys were looking for you. What did you do?" Alice asked indignantly. "I didn't do anything. I don't understand why she needs me at all, dash," our hero responded, feigning bewilderment. Meanwhile, the bandits contacted Tyler and reported what had happened. You can be sure that Bouncer was not happy about this. But in their defense, the bandits said that they were interrupted by an E-rank warrior. "Never mind. Go straight to his house. I found out he has a little sister," Tyler said in a creepy voice. Doesn't count the incident with the bandits. It was an ordinary day at the academy. Lessons, breaks, lunch, everything as usual. During the Rune study classes, the curator was dissatisfied with the students' progress. Having expressed everything he thought about the students, the curator asked Jack to tell the whole class what attributes the runestones have. All runestones are obtained from rune beasts. They act as a conductor of rune energy and are divided into 3 types according to their characteristics. Red stones are weapon stones. They have patterns engraved on them. If the energy of the runes is directed into them, they will turn into special weapons. Blue stones are talisman stones. They can have specific patterns engraved on them, which can be embedded into weapons to activate specific skills. Green stones, stones of protection. They have a similar effect as red stones, but they can only be used on armor. Due to different inscriptions, red stones cannot be used on items, and green stones cannot be used on weapons. When fighting rune beasts, warriors can only rely on one type of runestone, and they are the rune master's most powerful weapon. The curator knew that Jack was the most diligent and intelligent student in the entire academy, but unfortunately had too little potential to become a warrior. The teacher left the rest of the lesson for the students to develop themselves. But most of the students, whose potential had already exceeded 60%, were just messing around, when suddenly one of our hero's classmates began to loudly boast. "My friends, as soon as I become a Rune warrior, I will immediately buy myself a helicopter to look at your miserable houses." Hearing this, Dean said, "With his abilities, he will be eaten by the Rune beast within the first 3 days." Alice didn't leave these words unnoticed either. Approaching the guy, she said, "Someone like you will never become a master of runes. You have too little dignity, if you understand what I mean. If you haven't figured it out yet, I called you a coward and challenged you to a duel so you could defend your honor. What do you say?" the girl added. "Are you crazy? No one wants to mess with someone like you," the guy answered. After which, this idiot, together with his friends, ran out of the auditorium, promising that he would take revenge on the three of them, although Jack remained silent. In her life, Alice dislikes cowards the most, because she believes that at the right moment, they can let down their comrades, which can lead to death. When suddenly Jack said, "The teacher said that we can do self-development. How about sparring?" The girl thought for a bit and answered, "Yes," and her daughter, of course. "I'm all for it." Even though no one asked Dean, he was also happy about it. He wanted to see and learn something new. According to the rules, between students must take place exclusively in a virtual simulation, and they chose the forest square as the sparring field. This area put our heroes in the same conditions. They are both quite good at camouflage, but Jack has a slight advantage. Unlike Alice, he can attack from afar and quite effectively. So the girls first need to lure him out. When suddenly a bullet flew past Dean, scratching his cheek, after which Alice said, and he began to shoot even more accurately. "Dean, with this, he told you to step back and watch." The girl, like her entire family, is an excellent close combat fighter, and she has a weapon to match. Following in her father's footsteps, she uses a bow staff, reinforced with 2 talismanic stones, which in the right hands is a very dangerous weapon. Jack, in keeping with the old tradition, uses a deeply modified rifle, the Barrett M82. The choice of weapons and his fighting style allows our hero to attack from cover, which Alice cannot afford. But this does not mean that the girl has no chance of winning. Alice placed a quick dodge talisman into her weapon, so she was able to dodge Jack's shot. In battle, the most important thing is to know your enemy in order to be able to resist him. With his shot, the guy revealed his location. This was his main mistake. Alice's attacks were so destructive that it was easy to lure a person out of hiding. But as I said, in a fight, the most important thing is to know your opponent. And Jack knew that Alice was capable of this, so he placed an interesting talisman in his rifle. Ideal Predator Talisman makes the shot silent and leaves no tracer. Therefore, the girl did not even notice how our hero fired a shot, which led to her defeat. Our hero understood that the results in the simulation meant nothing. After all, in the real world, Alice would have finished him off in a matter of seconds. Immediately after her death, the girl returned to the battlefield to take revenge, but Jack refused her. Angry at losing, Alice screamed, "Do as you wish! Don't come to our house to eat delicious gyoza anymore." But then something unusual happened. Despite the forced return, Alice was still in the simulation. Suspecting something was wrong, Jack was also about to exit the simulation to check the integrity of Alice's capsule, and he did it without any problems. As soon as he came to his senses, he heard a familiar voice that promised a lot of problems. Eric and his idiot friends doused Alice's capsule with gasoline, causing a system failure. Ask him why he did it? It's very simple. He's a moron who got offended by the girl because she called him a coward. Throwing Eric aside, Jack used emergency means to open Alice's capsule. But even after the extraction, she remained unconscious. Dean ran for the doctor and the teacher, and our hero wanted to beat Eric up for what he did, so that he would understand once and for all that he can't be such a cretin. Having listened to all possible insults directed at him, the guy froze like a statue, after which he said, "She's not dead, is she? It doesn't matter, but she'll know who she's messed with. Besides, her father is just a cripple, and my dad will decide everything." Unable to bear it, Jack shouted, "Your parents should be ashamed that you are their son," after which he attacked Eric with his fists. With the very first blow, our hero broke his nose. "How dare you hit me? Do you even know what my family will do to you?" Eric screamed in fear. I don't care. I'll beat you until you get it, Jack replied. But at that moment, the curator came running and stopped our hero. Right now, saving Alice's life was more important, and Jack would deal with Eric later. As a parting shot, our hero made it clear to them that they would pay for what they had done. After the forced extraction, the doctor conducted examinations. The virtual reality capsule gave her an electric shock, but she should regain consciousness after some rest. Her life is not in danger now. After making sure that Alice was okay, the curator asked Jack to tell what happened. Why was he another student? Unable to bear it, Dean shouted, "Sir, they poured water on the little sister's capsule. That's why Jack did it." Sighing heavily, the curators added, "I see, Bullet. Now you may have serious problems. I don't want to scare you, but Eric's parents are very well-known E-rank Rune warriors. They most likely won't leave this situation just like that. I understand that he is guilty, but his parents will not care. I will give you a couple of days off until I solve this problem," added the curator. Realizing that everything was serious, Jack replied, "Got it. Sorry for the trouble." Alice was taken away by ambulance to receive proper care. Frankly, the situation was worse than ever. Bandits were hunting Jack for the Rune beast eggs, and Eric's parents wanted revenge. But the guy didn't lose his optimism when suddenly Dean says, "Jack, I understand everything, but how are you going to cope with all this with your 27%? I understand that you care about me, but please don't ask stupid questions," our hero answered angrily. The guy wanted to reveal the whole truth to his friend, but he didn't know what the consequences would be, so he decided to hide it. Meanwhile, the bandits were already waiting for Jack near his house. Given the previous failures, Tyler personally decided to participate in this operation. During a personal meeting, the man, as befits a boss, punished his subordinates for a mistake. And considering that the customer of the Rune beast eggs is a very serious person, he decided to act more radically and take Scarlet prisoner. After asking the concierge where the Bullet family lived, the bandits quickly found the apartment they needed. It was quiet inside the apartment in question, which meant Jack was still at school. Not wanting to draw any unnecessary attention to himself, Tyler simply rang the doorbell. Hearing the bell, Scarlet whispered in surprise, "Jack came back so early?" But then she realized that he had a key, and there was no need for him to ring the doorbell. After waiting for a while, a voice came from behind the door. "Is anyone home? Who is this?" He asked about Scarlet in fear. "Open up, please. We came to check the water meter," the fat dragon answered. Here they calculated the water meter was outside, and Scarlet knew about it perfectly well, after which the crying dragon shouted, "Fool! She understood who you are. Watch how it should be." "Hello, I'm a courier. I have a parcel for you from your brother," the bandit added in a gentle voice. "You can just leave the parcel outside," answered Scarlet. Then the bandits tried to persuade the girl to open the door in different ways, but Tyler found a much more effective way. With one blow, he simply knocked down the door and entered the apartment. Scarlet accidentally fell out of her wheelchair from fright. Tyler came inside and asked, "What's your name?" "I'm Scarlet Knife," the girl answered. The bouncer thoughtfully added, "Why isn't your last name the same as your brother?" Scarlet, very frightened, whispered, "I was adopted." Even though Tyler was a real scumbag, he didn't want to touch a little disabled girl. But the dragons didn't find any eggs, so he had no other choice. Holding a steel knife to the girl's face, the bouncer whispered, "Scarlet, your brother stole something from us. If you tell me where it is, I'll let you go. I know his class isn't over for another hour, so we have time to play," Tyler added. Killing a little girl was not in keeping with gangster principles, so Bouncer tried to intimidate her by stabbing his sword into her dinosaur toy. After waiting until the fear had penetrated deep into her soul, Tyler said, "Now do you understand what will happen to you if you don't tell us anything?" But then a voice came from behind. "I will kill you." Turning around, the bandit saw an angry Jack, ready to do anything just to protect his sister. Just by looking at them, it was clear who they were and why they had come. So Jack offered a deal. They would let his sister go, and he would return what they needed. The dragons also confirmed that this guy is the one they need. After looking at our hero for a long time, Tyler said, "So you're the guy who ruined my plans. I agree to let her go if you return the goods. But if you decide to do something, I will cut their throats," added the bouncer. "The situation is incredibly dangerous. You need to act carefully, otherwise Jack will lose his only loved one." "Your eggs are in the pantry!" our hero said, pointing towards one of the doors. Tyler got angry and shouted, "You two idiots, why didn't you check there earlier?" The box they were interested in was indeed in the storage room, but the problem had not yet been solved. Luckily, the dragon wasn't smart enough to check the contents of the box, but Tyler was smart enough, and he had a logical question. Why are there only 2 eggs here? That's the reason why I didn't deliver the goods on time. On the way, one of the eggs hatched. Jack answered, "What? Do you think I'm an idiot? This is the egg of a bone spider, a C-rank monster. If it had actually hatched, you would have died already." Tyler screamed in rage. If Jack tells the truth, he's unlikely to believe him. "Idiot. This is a gift to the minister. Do you even understand what I will do to you?" The thug whispered in a dark voice. And to confirm the seriousness of his intentions, he presented the knife to Scarlet's neck. Of course the girl was scared, but she didn't lose her head. She grabbed the man's hand and bit him with all her might. Not about to tolerate such brazen behavior, Tyler swung his arm to hit her. But before his fist reached its target, something flashed in front of his face. It was Jack who pulled his sister away from the attack. Even more enraged, the bouncer ordered the dragons to seize our hero. This time the bandits decided to act smarter and attack from behind. But on our hero, with increased agility, it didn't work. The fat dragon noticed that Jack had become faster than he had been in the morning. After their morning meeting, the boy received a stat booster that increased all of his stats, as well as his combat abilities. After the upgrade, Jack reached level 3 and 71% runic spirit. It's still not much compared to Alice, but it's enough to beat up dragons. After leveling up, the guy added all attribute points to agility. Even if he is inferior in strength, he can dodge their attacks for a long time. Seeing that Fatso was not coping, Tyler decided to take care of Jack personally. Activating the red runestone, the man summoned a gun and shouted, "Let's see how you dodge this." Based on what he saw, our hero realized that Bouncer was a rune master of at least rank E, or even higher. "Listen, I swear to you, this egg has hatched. I can't give you what you want." Looking straight into the eyes of the bandit, Jack said, "Do you understand who these eggs are for? The minister's son loves to raise rune beasts. These eggs are the key to my future, and you destroyed my future. I will not forgive you for this," Tyler replied. "How so? Raising animals in the city is a serious crime," Jack added in surprise. "You're still so green, kid, and you don't even know how the real world works," Bouncer answered, laughing. While they were sorting things out, Scarlet noticed another egg starting to move. "Jack is here," the girl screamed in fear. "Shut your mouth, or I'll shoot you," Tyler answered. But before he could do anything, something jumped out of one of the eggs. Now Tyler believed Jack. But it didn't change the situation. From the second egg emerged a C-rank monster, a dark-scaled snake. Despite being a newborn monster, it is much stronger than any E-rank rune master. Don't doubt it for a second, Tyler opened fire. But for the snake, his bullets were harmless, only slightly scratching the scales. With his shots, the bouncer attracted the monster's attention to himself. The man miraculously managed to dodge the snake's attack, but it has already become clear that he will not be able to win under such conditions. While the snakes were busy with Tyler, Jack and Scarlet were getting ready to leave. Although all of our hero's stats are now higher than when he fought the spider, he's not sure he can defeat the scaly snake. But just as they were about to leave, the monster stood in their way. But why did the snake suddenly change his priorities? In any case, Jack's main goal was to save his sister, when suddenly the snake began to behave much calmer, and at some point it even seemed that he became friendly. Noticing Scarlet's hand outstretched, Jack cried out in surprise, "Are you controlling him?" The thing is, Scarlet is a beast tamer. Such people are called geniuses. They are born with 100% rune spirit. Such people are born 1 in a million. They are able to communicate with rune monsters, tame them, and fight with them on the same side. The monster's weak point was the runestone on its forehead. But Jack had no weapon with him, so he asked his sister to direct the snake at the bandits. Meanwhile, Tyler and his thugs were about to escape, leaving the runic beast as our hero. Because the girl was using her gift for the first time, there were some difficulties with control. She forced the serpent to create a rune beast bomb. This is the strongest skill of all monsters, and its destructive power is enough to destroy any fortification. By concentrating, Scarlet was able to take complete control of the snake and point the beast bomb towards Tyler and his idiots. Since this monster was a newborn, you shouldn't expect any kind of super strong explosion. But if he hits the target accurately, the bandits won't survive it. Forget what I just said. The explosion was just unreal. Scarlet, you are simply amazing. You saved us, Jack shouted joyfully. But his joy did not last long. Due to severe exhaustion, the girl lost consciousness. Our hero only hoped that using her powers would not harm her, when suddenly a voice came from the cloud of smoke. What just happened? You and your sister. You will pay for what you have done, Tyler screamed with wild eyes. But before taking on our heroes, he decided to finish off the monster, which was the right decision. Because after Scarlet lost control over him, he became even more ferocious. After several unsuccessful shots, the bouncer still managed to hit the runestone on the monster's forehead. The runestone is the source of energy for any monster. If it is destroyed, the beast will be on the verge of death. That is why they always carefully protect this point. But because this snake was still young, it was not ready for this. After killing the monster, Tyler said, laughing, "Another egg cracked, and you, Jack, will pay for it." When suddenly a male voice rang out. "Jack Scarlet, are you okay? I heard an explosion." Tyler put on a creepy smile and whispered, "Who else came here to die?" Seeing the three bandits and our heroes, the man's face clearly showed bewilderment. Seeing this stranger, he quickly hid his runestone. When suddenly this man said, "Tyler, what are you doing here? And Sam, is that you?" "We came here to check on and support the children," the bandit answered with a pleasant smile. But then the fat dragon said, "Boss, didn't we come here to take our package and kill Jack?" For which he deservedly got hit in the face. Sam was a retired E-rank rune warrior. He trained many famous masters in his time, for which he received universal respect. And as you may remember, he is Alice's father. Knowing Tyler well enough, the man said, "Look, I don't care why you came here, but these kids are under my protection. If you dare cause them any trouble, you'll have to contact me and my students." Sam, true. "We just came to check on the guys, hey, fat. Give Jack some money," Tyler answered, trying to smooth things over. Reluctantly, the bandit gave the guy part of his salary. As he left, the bouncer added, "Jack, I hope next time we come to visit you, you'll be home, and not just your little sister." Of course, it was a threat. Something had to be done about it. Noticing that Scarlet was unconscious, Sam asked if she was okay. "Yes, uncle. No need to worry," Jack replied. He decided to keep the information that Scarlet was a beast tamer from him for now. Seeing the corpse of a scaly snake on the floor, the man asked, "Jack, what happened here?" Realizing that Sam wanted to help them, our hero decided to tell the truth. He talked about his work and about eggs. In short, Jack told the whole truth from beginning to end. Now that Sam knows everything, our hero wanted to ask him for advice, because the situation is very dangerous. After thinking for a moment, the man closed the box with the remaining egg and said, "I'll deal with this. But keeping the beast's egg here is too dangerous, so I'll take it with me." And Jack completely agreed with this. After all, he still lacked the strength to defeat a C-rank monster, and relying on Scarlet was too dangerous. Sam actually came to our guy because of what happened at school. Thanks to Jack's quick reaction, everything is fine with Alice. Anyway, the man came here to thank the guy for saving his daughter. Sam also warned Jack about Eric's parents. After all, in addition to being famous rune warriors, they are also good friends of the minister. In general, the man was sure that they would try to take revenge on our hero. This is the second adult who has warned Jack about this, which means the threat is quite real. A normal person, after what happened, would have preferred to relax in the park or lie in bed. But Jack is not an easy person. After waiting for Scarlet to come to her senses, he went to the martial arts hall in Uncle Sam. And I came from here with a specific goal, to find out the real power of my blow. After the system appeared, our hero felt that he had become stronger. But he wanted to know exactly how much. To know your maximum, you need to not just hit, you need to concentrate and direct all your spiritual energy into the strike. Thinking about his sister and friends, Jack hit with all his might and surprised the professional fighter. After all, on average, a professional boxer is capable of delivering a punch 1.5 times heavier than his own weight, and the force of our hero's punch exceeds his own weight 5 times. When suddenly his curator called him, "Hello, Jack. What have you been doing these past 3 days? The man asked excitedly. Hello, I've been training, our hero replied. I'm calling about the incident with Eric. The academy has made a decision, so please come to the dean's office, the curator added. Okay, I'll be there soon, Jack answered in an excited voice. With only 18 days left until the entrance exam, Jack hoped that this whole situation would not affect him in any way. Before our hero left the room, Sam asked, Baby, what weight did she show you? Sorry, I don't have time. You can look in the records. The guy answered rudely and left. This was not typical behavior for Jack, so the man suspected something was wrong. The force of our hero's blow was 462 kilograms. Seeing this, Sam was speechless, because such power exceeds all human capabilities. At the moment, Jack has already reached level 5. Since the system appeared, all his indicators have increased several times. After the hall, our hero went to the dean's office. There, the curator, the director of the academy, Eric, and his parents were already waiting for him. And believe me, Mr. and Mrs. Tolles were not happy to see him. The curators asked Jack to sit down, since the conversation would be long. But the guy refused, arguing that he wanted to get back to his studies as soon as possible. But then the director took the floor. Mr. Bullet, I'm afraid that's impossible. What do you mean? The guy shouted indignantly. Our academy has zero tolerance for violence against other students, so we have decided to expel you, the man answered in an indifferent voice. Wait, Eric was the one who tried to hurt another student. Why expel me? Jack added without holding back his emotions. This is a lie and slander. Eric Tolles is one of the elite students of our school, and you are just trash with 27% of the Rune spirit, the director shouted, standing up from his chair. But then Eric's mother intervened in the conversation. Kicking him out was the right decision. Feeling the taste of victory, Eric added, I told you that you messed with the wrong person. Try to contain your anger, our hero said. Director, did I understand you correctly? Because I have a low Rune spirit. You put all the blame on me? Please calm down. Provoking Eric's parents is not a good idea. Even if you don't care about yourself, think about your sister, the curator responded worriedly. As sad as it may sound, the curator was right. Jack had already put Scarlet in danger. He couldn't let anything happen again. So the guy accepted the director's decision and just left. But then, Eric had the sense to open his mouth. Jack, why aren't you so cocky anymore? You gave in so easily. As expected, you're just trash. Pray that we don't cross paths when we become Rune Masters, Jack replied in a gloomy voice as he left. Dude, I'll give you some advice. Don't overestimate yourself. Your exclusion means that you will not be able to participate in the awakening ceremony, Eric's dad said with a sly smile. Jack decided to leave his words unanswered, but his look said it all. Well, the situation couldn't be worse. The sister is in danger. Bandits are hunting them. Jack was expelled from school, and he was also left without a job. Besides, Eric's father was right. Since our hero was expelled, he cannot join the awakening ceremony, and therefore cannot become a Rune Master. Anyone who wants to awaken needs the help of a spiritual crystal, but it takes a lot of energy to activate. Therefore, the Rune Masters Union has set a rule that 15 days before the entrance exam, they send people to activate the awakening crystal and allow the entrance exam participants to awaken. When suddenly someone shouted, Jack, wait! Turning around, our hero saw an excited Dean and Alice running towards him. To be honest, I'm surprised to see them, because they should be in class now. But when the whole class was informed about our hero's expulsion, they ran off to look for him to talk. Taking the guy by the hand, Alice asked him to go with her to the martial arts hall. The girl was sure that her dad would be able to help Jack. Returning back to the hall, the guys told Sam everything that had happened. Alice felt guilty about Jack being expelled, so she wanted her father to help bring him back. I don't want to upset you, boy, but I can't send you back to the academy. However, it's not all that bad. You have a chance to wake up. Only those of whom more than 60% try to become a master. But this does not mean that all of them will become one later, the man said with a slight smile. This was of course good news, but it didn't change the fact that Jack wouldn't be allowed to get to the crystal. There have been many stories throughout history where students have failed to release their full potential and have not undergone awakening. In general, yes, most students will simply not be able to wake up and will become ordinary people. Awakening crystal. This is not the only way to awaken powers. Many of those who could not awaken the first time try different ways of awakening. This, of course, added optimism. But the question remains open. What methods exactly do they use? When suddenly the man leaned over to the boys and whispered, "Have you ever heard of awakening medicine?" "What? Awakening medicine?" The guys shouted at the same time. After some incidents, awakening medicine is no longer recognized by the Rune Masters Association. Even with a small rune spirit, there is a certain chance of awakening, but it is extremely dangerous. Using medicine is like using an awakening crystal. The higher the runic spirit, the greater the chance of success, and the stronger the runic skill a person can awaken. Since everyone thought our hero's rune spirit was only 27%, Sam prepared him for the unlikely success. The problem was that when you take the medicine, there are only two outcomes. Either your organs will not be able to withstand the medicine and you will die, or you will successfully awaken and become a rune master, changing your life. So Sam wanted Jack to carefully weigh all the risks and make a decision. After learning about the side effects, Alice and Dean immediately began to dissuade our hero from this drug. After all, it is much better to be an ordinary person than to be dead. But our hero is not afraid of such things. He made a decision without the slightest hesitation. After all, he knew that his potential was higher than everyone thought. Sam initially didn't want to tell him about the medicine, but after that 500-kilogram hit, he realized he couldn't leave Jack. "Excellent. So, I will use your rune beast egg in exchange for a chance to fight for the cure," the man said suddenly. "But it's not my egg," Jack replied fearfully. "It's not a legal item, and this is the only place we can put it to good use," Sam added. The other day, a man received information that the Ash Gang discovered a dungeon in the wilderness, and they think that the treasure of a powerful rune monster is hidden inside. But the dungeon blocks the entrance to all masters. So the Ash Gang began to recruit ordinary people to search for the treasure and bring it to them. Any ordinary person can simply pay enough money and enter the dungeon. The first person to find the treasure will receive the awakening medicine. Of course, it is incredibly dangerous, but there is simply no other way. Sam also warned that there were a lot of people who wanted to get this medicine, and success would depend only on Jack. Having learned that for a medicine that can kill you need to participate in a mortal battle, Alice was categorically against our hero participating in this. "Alice, I haven't finished talking yet. Why are you interrupting the conversation?" Sam shouted angrily. The man had a friend who had a team of mercenaries who hunted animals in the wild, and Jack could join them to gain experience. Fight monsters and survive in the wild, risking your life to awaken. It will be hard, but if Jack can't become a rune master, he will continue to live as a scumbag who can't be accepted by the likes of Eric and his parents. So the choice was obvious. Jack is ready to risk everything for his dream. It was for his determination and fortitude that Sam always respected Jack. When everything was decided, the man grabbed our hero and dragged him to the entrance of the city to introduce him to the poison wolf that Alice has been afraid of since childhood. And believe me, there are reasons for that. Arriving at the city limits, Jack and Sam sat down in an inconspicuous cafe. "Uncle, why are we here? Aren't we supposed to meet the poisonous wolf?" our hero asked excitedly. "Take your time. You'll find out everything soon," the man answered with a slight smile. Just at that moment, the alarm went off. The city guards began to panic and ordered gate number 1 to be opened. Not understanding what was happening, Jack screamed, "Uncle, it looks like animals are attacking." "Don't panic so much, it's just the poison wolf and his mate returning to town," Sam replied, after which the gates opened and a huge D-rank monster appeared in front of our heroes. This is the first time Jack has seen such a monster in real life. Even though he is dead, the smell of blood still instills horror. Noticing our hero's worried face, Sam asked, "Are you afraid?" After thinking for a second, the guy answered, "No, I'm delighted." But then a squad of medics ran past them and evacuated the soldier. The man lost his arm in the fight, and for Jack it was a reminder of what a dangerous adventure he had gotten himself into. It's one thing to fight in a simulation, but when you see a real human lose an arm, it leaves an unforgettable mark. Approached the battleship, Sam shouted, "Hey, old man, are you alive in there? Who are you calling an old man? And know that I will live longer than you. What brought such a softy like you to us?" laughed the poison wolf. And here he is, the poison wolf, a rune warrior of rank E, profession, swordsman. His deputy is a big cow, rank E, profession tank. The team also included Firefox, profession sniper, and Mountain Tiger, profession swordsman, both rank E, and the last member of the Skinny Monkey group, an E-rank sniper. "I came to ask you for a favor," Sam said, sighing heavily. "Wait, before you ask for anything, I need to treat you. Let's go," the poison wolf replied. "How can you be so heartless? Your teammate is injured," the man added. Here the fiery fox intervened in the conversation. "We are hunters. It is always a risk. Bald Eagle only lost his arm. If we sit over him, it will not help at all." Even though her words sounded cruel, she was right, and the rest of the team agreed with her. By the way, Bald Eagle was a sniper scout, which means you need a new one now, and I have an excellent candidate. Pushing Jack forward, Sam shouted joyfully. A little embarrassed, our hero timidly waved his hand, greeting everyone. "Listen, I don't want to offend you, but he's still just a child and not even a rune master, which means he'll die as soon as we leave the city limits," the poison wolf said thoughtfully. "The captain is right. We, Bloodwolves, do not accept just anyone," added the skinny monkey. "Rune master teams hunt monsters for profit. They are brave, furious, and very strong. But with great rewards also come dangers. For mercenaries, every day could be their last. In the wild, where there are no laws, anything can happen. Rune beasts. Not the only danger, as one must be careful even with one's companions and other people." Poison Wolf said bluntly that Jack couldn't handle the task, but our hero insisted that he had to go with them. And to the question why, the guy answered, "I know that I can die, then lose the chance to become a master of runes." "Idiot. You saw the bald eagle. He was lucky he only lost one arm. When the time comes, it will be too late," Firefox said indignantly. Sam understood that this was not an easy request, but she still insisted that Jack be accepted into the team. "Jack is like a son to me, so I don't want him to die," added the man. "Then why are you supporting this idiotic idea?" asked the poisonous wolf. "He was expelled from school because he hit the rune master's son to save Alice," Sam replied. "Wait, you said excluded? That means he won't be able to participate in the awakening ceremony. I'm afraid to ask, what is his rune spirit?" the mercenary added curiously. 27%, Sam whispered. "Are you kidding me? How can he possibly become a rune master with that?" the poisonous wolf screamed indignantly. "Calm down. This is just official data. I think he is hiding something. His punching force has already reached 462 kilograms, the man added. This changed the situation radically. After all, the force of such a blow brought our hero closer to the weak master of runes. Although it was strange, Sam had a feeling that Jack would definitely become a rune master. And from the heights of his life experience, he learned to trust his feelings. In general, the poisonous wolf agreed to take Jack into his team, in exchange for a bottle of 30-year-old Mao Tai from Sam's collection. We can assume that from this moment, our hero became an intern at the Bloodwolves. He was given 3 days to pack and prepare, after which they would set off into the wild lands. The Firefox and the Mountain Tiger were not happy about this. They considered Jack weak. But they could not go against the captain's decision. For our hero, this was the only chance to gain real experience, and he was ready to take full advantage of it. 3 days later, the awakening ceremony began in the main square, and Dean decided to try his luck. Despite the general skepticism and his own uncertainty, the guy woke up successfully. Yes, he was not an outstanding fighter, but the rune spirit was enough to awaken. Next in line was Alice. Today is the most important day of her life, but neither Dad nor Jack are around. The fact that at such an important moment she thinks about a friend says a lot about her. Now she was worried about him more than about herself. Touching the awakening crystal, the girl felt the body as raw material. As expected, her awakening was successful. In addition, after awakening, her rune spirit increased from 92% to 97%. For this, she was rightly called a genius. Dean knew it couldn't be any other way. But for other students, it came as a real surprise. Next on the list after Alice was Eric. No one doubted him either, since his parents were rune masters. But at the moment when it was necessary to touch the crystal, the guy lost all his confidence. And yet she did it. But Crystal didn't react in any way. This could only mean one thing. The awakening had failed. That's how, in a second, The pride of the family turned into an ordinary guy who didn't live up to his parents' expectations. Realizing that he would not become a master, the boy began to lose consciousness. Using his authority, Eric's father tried to persuade the guard to give the boy another chance. But the rules were sacrosanct. Seeing this whole picture, Dean laughed like crazy and said, "It's a pity that Jack is not here. I think he would have liked this picture." Eric got angry and replied, "How dare you talk to me like that? You haven't mixed anything up. Now I, the Rune Master, will be afraid of you?" Dean added, not stopping his laughter. In addition, Eric's father pressured him for his failure, but being a loving father, he promised that he would do everything possible to ensure that his son became a master. And of course, it was about awakening medicine. This decision could greatly affect their reputation, but the man had to do it. Meanwhile, at the city gates, Jack arrived at the appointed time and place. Before setting off, the guy introduced himself. "My name is Jack Bullet. I am 18 years old. My profession is sniper." After which, the Bloodwolves loaded up and hit the road. But why do these people constantly risk their lives? Aren't they afraid to die? Of course, be afraid. But hunting in the wild gives you such feelings that instantly cause addiction. As for our hero, although he is ready for the upcoming trials, it is quite difficult for him to leave the safe city. Looking out the window at the city receding into the distance, Jack hoped that Dean and Alice had managed to wake up. Of course, the guy could only go into the wild after taking care of his sister's safety. During his absence, she would live with Sam and Alice. The wild world is completely different from the city. Beautiful landscapes that he had never seen before. So beautiful and so dangerous. Along with Jack, several other people went on this expedition. It was a small group of 3 scientists who specialized in rune beasts. The group was led by a professor from the northern zone, Christian, who wrote many scientific works about runes and animals, and with him his 2 students, Harry and Arena. This time Christian came here to study the migration of the red-tailed gull. This location is located near the entrance to the Ash Gang's secret kingdom. So while the professor is investigating, Jack can take the opportunity to challenge this location. But don't forget that when you're in the wild, you're in danger every second, and the monster that attacked the shuttle was a good reminder of this. Luckily, the Bloodwolves eliminated the beast before it could do anything. For them, it was a routine and a job they loved. Overall, the entire team was optimistic, except for the Firefox, who still believed that taking Jack and the professor with the students was a big mistake. Harry seems like a good guy, but he lacks courage. When suddenly Professor Christian said, "We have arrived. You have just seen a red-tailed gull." Harry's eyes bulged and he shouted, "Why is it so big?" "The world is changing, and animals are mutating at an incredible rate, so be extremely careful," the professor replied. Initially, another student was supposed to fly with the professor instead of Harry, but the boy's parents sponsored this expedition. Trying to understand at least the approximate level of knowledge of his students, Christian asked, "What habits and characteristics of these monsters do you know?" Harry didn't know anything, but Alice said, "These monsters are pack animals, usually rank F. Some leaders reach rank E, and they are not worth messing with. Although seagulls have mutated into rune birds, they have retained their migratory habits. Their flights are linked to the seasons and weather. Luckily, the temperature in the area is low enough that there shouldn't be any seagulls here." The main goal of the expedition was to find out the reason for their aggression. After all, they had not shown much activity before. When suddenly Jack said, "Since it is a pack animal of F rank, it can be lured with a glass ball. It will be easy to defeat one." Arena was surprised by our hero's deep knowledge. The professor pounced on the boy with questions about how he knew so much about monsters. Although all this is in the regular school curriculum, and Harry didn't like that Jack was attracting everyone's attention, so he asked her vehemently, "What rank have you awakened?" Embarrassed, our hero answered, "I haven't awakened yet." "What? What the hell are you doing here then?" the guy added indignantly. Not wanting to quarrel with the team, Jack promised that there would be no problems with him. And suddenly the Firefox stood up for our hero. "He's new to our team, and certainly better than an idiot like you." "Who are you calling an idiot?" Harry asked in a trembling voice. "Calm down. They are a team and will stand up for each other," the professor said, taking the guy by the shoulder. At that moment, the voice of the poisonous wolf came from the speakers. Our destination is the forest of ancient trees in the eastern part of the Greenstone region, and if nothing gets in the way, we will arrive there before sunset. You are understood, Captain. After everyone calmed down, Jack approached the firefox and thanked her for standing up for him. No need. We are now one team after all, and we have to cover each other's backs, the girl answered. It's nice to know that Jack was accepted as one of their own. Now he has a huge sense of duty hanging over him. He can't let them down. As planned, they arrived at the designated place after dark. Upon arrival, they split into two groups, the Bloodwolves and the scientists. While they were setting up camp, Jack got to know a large cow better, when suddenly Harry said, "Hey, newbie, where is our tent?" restraining herself from hitting the guy. The firefox threw him a bag and said, "If you want to sleep in a tent, set it up yourself." To which Harry indignantly replied, "Actually, we paid you for this? You only pay for your own protection. It is not our responsibility to take care of you. Or should I go to the toilet with you?" the skinny monkey added, laughing. The guy didn't succeed, unlike Arena. "Where's the food?" Harry shouted. "If you keep shouting, I'll kill you personally. There's canned food in the backpack." The big cow whispered. Realizing that there was no point in shouting, the guy added in a calm voice, "What will you eat?" And at that moment, a wild boar fell from the sky, and this boar had dinner with the mercenaries, as a result of which they clearly did not intend to share with the guy. When everyone calmed down, the big elephant asked Jack to share the beast, the crooked-horned boar, a Rune beast of rank F. This monster is so fat that its skin cannot be pierced even by a hunting knife, and the firefox realized all this, so she threw her knife to the hero. This is a very ordinary rune dagger, and this is also the first time Jack touched a real rune weapon. The guy was worried that because of his low rune spirit, this dagger would turn into a rune again. But the girl calmed him down, saying that in the next few hours he would store her charge, so nothing like that should be said. Although this is not a combat mission, it is a great chance for the guy to show himself. After dinner, lights out is announced in prison. Since this is wild nature, there always has to be someone on guard, and today, it is the poisonous wolf and Jack. Only Bloodwolves may take over the night watch, which is quite logical. Sitting on one of the highest branches, the man asked, "Bullet, is he growing up?" Without a second's hesitation, Jack replied, "Of course, Captain." After which the guy easily pushed off the ground and jumped straight up to the captain, which is about 3 meters above the ground. What he saw greatly surprised the poisonous wolf, because ordinary people are incapable of such things, and the awakened ones need special equipment. After waiting until everyone in the room fell asleep, the man said, "You know, you yourself said that your runic spirit is only 27%. The blow was close to 500 kilograms. Jack panicked a little and replied, "As sad as it may sound, it is true." After which the poisonous wolf laughed with all his might and added, "What a weirdo! I like people like that. I'll be honest. I'll send you to the dungeon, but you won't survive there now." The man continues, changing his laughter to seriousness. "But you yourself said that my power increases the power of an ordinary person, so everything should go well?" Jack asked anxiously. After thinking for a moment, the poisonous wolf replied, "You don't know how. Listen, I don't think you're weak, but..." After which the man kicked Jack straight in the chest, collided with him from a low altitude. Having fallen to the ground, our hero miraculously remained unharmed. Lay on the ground. A small question mark appeared on his face. It's all in the mind. No matter how talented or strong you are, in the wild you have to be on guard. Not so much for the rune beasts, but for other people. Those going into the dungeon have nothing to lose. They have their own goal. And among them, there will be people much stronger and smarter than Jack, and with much more experience. And everyone needs this awakening medicine. If a guy wants to snatch it from the hands of others, you have to be ready for anything. What just happened was the first important lesson in survival in the wild. The poisonous wolf is not interested in training newbies, but he liked Jack's determination. So he will guide him, but whether the boy can get anything out of it depends on him. And for this, the captain went with our hero into the forest, leaving the fiery one in the forest to guard the camp. Let's be honest, going into the forest at night is quite reckless, and the poisonous wolf would never in his life have taken such a risk if he had not known these places better than himself. The man wanted to see what Jack was capable of in real conditions. This wild boar, just like the one they ate for dinner, is not at its peak. so it is perfect for training. Jack had doubts about whether he could defeat even such a weak monster, since he had not yet awakened. But the poisonous wolf simply took and pushed him straight into the boar. It's very simple. If our hero can't handle it, he'll go home tomorrow. The guy has already fought with real rune beasts and even won. But then, he was able to cope only thanks to his ingenuity and the means at hand. The biggest mistake when meeting a monster is to start panicking. At all costs, you need to stay calm. Also, unlike the previous times, he had a weapon capable of killing the monster, so the situation wasn't that critical. Noticing Jack, the boar immediately went on the attack. Despite his high agility, Jack barely managed to dodge. Seeing the confusion on our hero's face, the poisonous wolf said, "Baby, reality is far from the school simulation. If you're careless, you'll die. You only have one try." But even without his help, Jack understood this. The most effective way to kill such a beast is to counterattack. After waiting for the monster to attack again, Jack dodged, and then plunged the dagger straight into its head. And that was where it all should have ended. But for some unknown reason, the boar continued to run, right with the dagger in his head. Seeing that the situation had changed dramatically, the poisonous wolf shouted, "Rack your brains. Think about where his weak spot is." Remembering how he had cut up the carcass today, the guy tried to remember which place was the thinnest. Even with the dagger that Firefox had given him, the thick skin was difficult to cut, except in one place. And that place was the neck. After killing the wild boar, a new mission appeared. He had to kill 10 F-rank rune beasts. The reward was good, but the beasts weren't easy to defeat, and that boar almost finished him off. Despite all the mistakes, the man praised Jack for his good self-control and quick reaction, but warned that if he encountered a monster of a higher rank, not to be a hero and immediately run away. After which, he gave our hero the red runestone. This is another lesson. Always extract runes and absorb them to increase your fighting skills. Happiness. On one wild boar, the poisonous wolf did not intend to stop training. With this, the guy will be able to complete the system mission before he even enters the dungeon. The past battle made Jack's blood boil, and the boy realized that he was truly destined to take the path of the rune warrior. Under the supervision of a poisonous wolf, our hero cut down the monsters one after another, gradually refining your movements and adjusting your fighting style to each individual animal. The longer the mercenary watched Jack, the more convinced he became of Sam's words. Our hero was quite capable of telling the truth. Sensing potential in him, the man couldn't wait to see how terrifying he could become. Their hunt lasted until the morning. During this time, Jack killed only 5 animals that the poisonous wolf pointed out to him, but they were all high level, so it wasn't easy to cope, although he didn't kill the required number of monsters to complete the system mission. Thanks to this, his combat experience increased. Now, the man wanted Jack to rest and get a good night's sleep so that they could continue their training in the evening. This news could not but please. If he kills 5 monsters the next night, he and her husband will complete the quest. Finding the camp turned out to be quite easy. The amazing smell of food led to it. Hearing a rustle in the bushes, Arena tensed up, and seeing the captain with Jack, she was surprised and shouted, "Where have you been all night?" "I trained Jack to fight rune beasts." "Boy, go get some rest," the poisonous wolf replied. Noticing several rune stones sticking out of our hero's bag, Arena thought, did he kill monsters? But he is an ordinary person. And at this time, Harry had just woken up. It must be admitted that one night of training in the wild gave more than several years in the academy. These rune stones are needed for absolutely everything, ranging from creating weapons and protective items to increasing combat abilities. But since Jack has not yet awakened, he cannot absorb their energy. Now the guy was thinking about how he could use these runes before he woke up, and as soon as he touched one of the stones, a system notification appeared. "Do you want to extract and absorb energy?" Don't doubt it for a second. Jack clicked, "Yes." It's hard to believe that the system is capable of this. Having absorbed the energy, our hero gained enough experience to level up. It was impossible to imagine a better turn of events. With the help of the system, the guy can absorb the energy of the runes without even being awakened. After leveling up, the fatigue disappeared, and all characteristics increased significantly, but most of all strength and agility. And on top of that, there are still 15 free attribute points available. Given the upcoming test, Jack decided to use the glasses in the following way. 10 to Constitution, 3 to wisdom and 2 to strength. After increasing his wisdom, all his senses became sharper, which only proves once again that all 4 attributes are important in everyday life. The boost gave Jack confidence that he would complete the mission system that night and raise his level even higher. Meanwhile, the Bloodwolves and the expedition set out on their journey. The Firefox was genuinely interested in how our hero was being trained. I can't call him a genius, but his fighting abilities are at a very high level, and his learning speed is high. The captain answered with a slight smile. "Wow! You rarely praise anyone," the girl answered in a sleepy voice. "I know. In any case, you need to stay in the camp," the captain continued. "Thank you, but I'm not tired," answered the fox. "No, I just have an important mission for you," whispered the poisonous wolf with a sly smile. The man wanted her to help them with today's training, and in what way exactly, we will find out during the training itself. Today, the captain remains on guard, and the Firefox will go with Jack. This news greatly surprised our hero, and upon learning that the Firefox would be messing around with the newcomer, the big elephant laughed and shouted, "But my little sister likes people like you." Immediately after these words, the turkey leg in his hands flew into pieces. "Hey, elephant, repeat what you said, and the next one will be in your head." "Where are you from?" "The depths of the forest," the fox cried out. Although she looks calm, she has an explosive character. Leaning towards our hero, the poisonous wolf whispered, "She is the best sniper I know, so she can teach you a lot that can save your life. But really, instead of fighting a dangerous enemy, it's better to lie low and strike at the right moment. Plus, Jack is also a sniper, and her lessons can be very useful." Although she wants to appear cold as ice, our hero saw that in fact she is very kind. Taking spare cartridges with them, the boys went into the forest for training, when suddenly Arena asked the professor if she could go with them. "I understand your zeal, but this is wild nature. You will only get in the way. It is better to stay in the camp," the man answered thoughtfully. But having received a refusal, the girl did not retreat. "Professor, he is not woken up yet. Why should I be afraid?" asked Arena. To which the professor, without thinking for a second, replied, "Because you are not the same as him." And so let's return to our hero. Today they will play hide and seek. Jack had 3 lives in total, 2 of which he has already spent. And if he loses his last life, he will go home. The victory will be considered if the fox cannot find it within 10 minutes. Jack had exactly 1 minute to hide, and in the forest this was more than enough time. Our hero hides quite well, thanks to training in the simulation. But this is still not enough to escape the fox's keen eye, although sometimes she makes mistakes, like this time. She mistook the rabbit for Jack. During the search, the girl even killed several Rune beasts. 9 minutes had already passed, and her search had still not yielded any results. The fox checked all the potential places where she could hide. She even thought that Jack had simply returned to the camp. And the longer she thought, the less time there was left. Start to worry that something happened to our hero. The girl decided to break the rules and activate your rifle's special skill to spot targets. Snake Eye skill activates night vision in the sight. Of course, it's not entirely fair, but she had no other choice. Our hero hid in the bush where the fox had originally thought. Sometimes the most dangerous place turns out to be the safest. Thanks to his heightened senses, Jack felt that he was being targeted. The fox was completely sure that our hero did not suspect anything, but Jack knew that she had him in her sights, but he tried not to move, so as not to show himself once again. Meanwhile, there were only 3 seconds left until his victory. 1 second. And time's up. The only reason the fox didn't shoot was because she broke the rules, but if Jack had moved, she would have won. After the time was up, the girl admitted that she had cheated. And now she understood why the captain had been so confident in him. "Well, since I won, will you teach me?" Dash asked our hero. "Look, your stealth skills are pretty good, but this is the Rune Age, and when you run into a master, he'll find you just like I did. A talented sniper must be calm and an observer. You must be able to foresee everything, anticipate every step of the enemy. Only then can you be safe. Here you go." Throwing some object, the fox added. The object looked high-tech, but Jack didn't understand what it was. Seeing the bewilderment on the guy's face, the fox, laughing, said, "Put them on. These are glasses used by scouts and snipers. In addition to people, they can also detect runic beasts and display important information." Considering his lack of special abilities, this was the perfect gift for our hero. These glasses greatly increase your chances of survival in the wild while hunting. But this is not the end. The training is just beginning. Just like last time, it lasted until the morning. At sunrise, Jack and Fox returned to camp. Seeing our hero, the mountain tiger cried out in fear. "What's wrong with you?" Barely standing on his feet, the guy replied, "Don't worry. Lisa just trained me a little." To be honest, it looked more like Jack had been beaten all night. Well, now that's what I call training. Unfortunately, the guy only killed 3 monsters that night, which is not enough to complete the system mission. But you can extract energy from the dropped runes and raise the level of your abilities. Already tonight, he will go to the dungeon, so safety is his top priority. He spent his free attribute points on dexterity and wisdom. Even though after leveling up, the fatigue passed, Jack still decided to sleep so that his brain could also rest and his nerves would be in order. As a result, the guy slept until sunset, when suddenly Arena felt a fluctuation of energy in our hero's tent, which raised even more questions, because he was an ordinary person. Having finished all the preparations, Jack went out. Despite everything, our hero looks confident. He believed that the training of the captain and Lisa made him much stronger. Unlike everyone else, Arena noticed that he had become much stronger. Who is she? Before entering the dungeon, Jack will be accompanied by a skinny monkey. Despite the fact that the guy did not participate in combat missions with them, he still became a full-fledged member of the team. Watching Jack fly away, the poisonous wolf and the fiery forests, so that everything would be okay with him. They believed that if he could survive the dungeon, he would become the most amazing rune warrior. Since Jack left the camp, Harry saw this as a great opportunity to hit on Arena. But to his great disappointment, the girl had already gone to bed. At least, so to speak, Professor. Having flown away from the camp far enough, the skinny monkey turned to our hero and said, "Baby, there should be a bag next to your seat. Sam has prepared it for you. It contains everything you need." It was unexpected and nice that Alice's dad thought about this in advance. And if you think about it, it's all thanks to Sam. He believed in Jack and got him into the Bloodwolves team, when suddenly the monkey added, "Listen, I shouldn't do this, but I'll wait for you near the exit from the dungeon. Try not to die." "Thank you, brother, but in case I don't make it out, please tell Sam to take care of Scarlet and thank everyone for their help." Jack replied in a very gloomy voice. Although our hero is confident that he will be able to survive, he needs to take care of his family, and just surviving is not enough. He needs to win, and for that he will have to take risks. When suddenly, some noise was heard from the luggage compartment. Turning around to check what it was, our hero saw Arena in front of him with a creepy smile on her face. "Are you sick? What are you doing here?" Jack shouted angrily. "I knew you were hiding something, so I snuck in after you." The third girl was indignant. If they took her back, they wouldn't make it before the dungeon opened, so there was no choice. "I think it's time to get to know Arena a little better. She is a master of runes of rank F. Even though she and Jack are the same age, she is already awakened. Her family is very influential, so the girl was able to awaken earlier than the others. Her life is completely different from the life of our hero, and there is no need to care about anyone or think about the future, because thanks to her family, her future is already predetermined, and you can be sure it is joyful." Since Arena had nowhere to go, our hero told her the whole truth. Of course, for her, as a child from a rich family, it seemed crazy to risk her life for a medicine that could wake you up or could kill you. But Jack didn't even hope that she would understand him. However, putting herself in his place, Arena understood why he took such a risk. But what she sincerely didn't understand was why he was striving to become a master of runes. Of course, Jack could talk about power, recognition, and glory, but in reality, he wasn't particularly interested in it. His only goal is to simply be able to protect the people he loves. Feeling the sincerity in his voice, the girl extended her hand and said, "I believe in you. You will definitely come back and become a master." 20 minutes later, they arrived at the entrance to the dungeons. Well, the crowd here can't really be called pleasant. Against their background, Jack looked ridiculous, and when one of the mercenaries saw our hero's pass, he started laughing out loud, calling him a suicide bomber. Then, Arena stood up for Jack, which frankly wasn't the best idea. Now Jack was laughed at even harder. The monkey advised Arena to calm down a little, to avoid unnecessary conflict. Despite everything, Jack was allowed in because he had a pass. As he walked forward, our hero remembered the words of the poisonous wolf. that in the wild, animals are not the greatest danger. The entrance to the dungeon looked normal, but the aura it emitted was terrifying. When suddenly Arena's attention was drawn to something unusual. A couple of meters from the entrance to the dungeon, there was a half-destroyed grave. Apparently, this dungeon is the resting place of some powerful master. Perhaps he chose this forest to die peacefully and created this dungeon as a deterrent before his death. Anyway, that's not what Jack needed to worry about. The guy needed to figure out how to win this dungeon and still stay alive. When suddenly our hero heard a familiar voice. "Bullet, you again?" Turning around, he saw Eric in the company of some thugs. It was obvious that they were there for a reason. "Eric, what are you doing here? Wait, the ceremony was a couple of days ago." "No way. You failed the awakening, and that means you're just as much trash as I am," Jack said, laughing. "Shut up. Don't compare me to someone like you. My parents hired 4 experienced bodyguards for me, so I won't even have to do anything," the guy shouted angrily. "Remember, you said that if you meet me in the wild, you'll kill me? I'll be waiting for you," Eric added with a sly smile. To be honest, with such a support team, Eric has a much better chance of winning than Jack. But despite this, our hero was calm, because he knew that here self-confidence was equal to death. Besides, this idiot brought his parents with him, and you can be sure that they will do everything possible to ruin our hero's life. Seeing Eric's parents, the monkey became nervous, and then Eric's father said, "I know you. You are from the poisonous wolf's team. If you touch my son, you will go after the eagle." After these words, the mercenary calmed down a little. Eric's father works in the ministry and has power at all levels. However, there is one place where he won't be able to help his son, and that's the dungeon. When suddenly, something rushed over the people's heads at great speed, and then the sound of a shot was heard. "Attention! I don't care about your status or power. This is my territory. There is only one bottle of medicine, and the one who follows my instructions will get it. I think everyone knows me, but I will introduce myself. Jin, the leader of the Ash Gang, a master of the D-rank runes," the man screamed in a mad voice. Many people dislike Jin and his gang, and the Bloodwolves are no exception. The Ash Gang lives in the wild, robbing commercial shuttles that fly between cities. The authorities even tried to destroy them once, but to no avail. After that, the genie blew up 10 passenger shuttles in revenge, and also sent a bunch of monster claws to the minister's house as a warning. In other words, a real madman. When suddenly Eric screamed at the top of his lungs, "Dad, why don't you grab him right now and force him to give you the medicine?" With horror on his face, the man covered the guy's mouth with his hand and whispered, "Shut up. He's a D-rank. Even I'm no match for him." After which, Jin shot right at his feet, causing him to dance. Despite his hot temper, the bandit forgave Eric for his mistake, but warned that next time he would become food for the monsters. Now that all the participants are in place, it's time to announce the rules. Beyond the entrance to the dungeon is a primeval forest with many F-rank rune beasts acting as guardians. The goal of the participants is to avoid these monsters and get to the abandoned palace of the god of death. In the palace, there is a statue, and at the foot of it, there is a large chest. And whoever brings this chest to the genie will receive the medicine. Another important point, they have one night for everything. As soon as the sun rises, the entrance to the dungeon will close and will open only after 3 months. It doesn't sound that difficult, but even if the beast is of the lowest rank, it will be difficult for ordinary humans who have not awakened to have anything to do with them. When Eric heard about the upcoming test, he burst into tears like a little child whose lollipop had been taken away. It even got to the point that he, in front of everyone, threw himself into his mother's arms and began screaming how scared he was. Jack was calm. He felt that he could cope with this test. "I feel like I should help somehow." Arena gave our hero something from her inventory. This is a bandage with an airbag function. When pressed, it instantly fills with air and creates an air cushion. It's a very expensive thing, but disposable. What should you expect from a girl from a rich family? After a couple of minutes, the dungeon opened completely. The participants began to enter one by one. Although Jack and Arena were not well acquainted, the girl felt that he would be able to overcome all difficulties. Inside the dungeon, it turned out not to be as scary as our hero thought. All participants found themselves in a random location, approximately equal distance from the palace of the god of death. And after just a few seconds, screams began to ring out. The first contestant was eliminated, a good reminder of how dangerous it is here. And with every minute, the number of victims grew more and more. In just 5 minutes, more than a dozen participants were killed, when suddenly, Jack heard a female voice calling for help. Looking closely, he saw some grandfather in the depths of the forest, which fell into the quicksand and was already half stuck in it. Jack remembered the poisonous wolf's words, but he couldn't leave the man. And while our hero was thinking, another person came to the aid of this girl. Without thinking, she reached out her hand and began to pull the second girl out of the swamp. But this was her main mistake. As soon as the first girl climbed out of the swamp, she pushed her savior back into her place. It's still good that Jack thought before acting, because he could have ended up in her place. As it turned out, this girl worked in a team with 2 guys. Unfortunately, not only those who wanted to get the awakening medicine went into the dungeon, but also those who simply wanted to kill and rob people. And this team of thugs was just one of them. Just think about it. Killing a person to earn a couple $100. Unfortunately, this poor thing did not survive. After seeing all this, Jack realized that he should not help anyone under any circumstances, when suddenly one of the men sharply turned his head towards our hero and shouted, "Who's there? Come out, or I'll empty the entire clip into you." The hero did not understand how they were able to detect him, because he was very good at camouflage. Although, what difference does it make how they did it? The main thing now is to survive. Jack soberly assessed his strength and understood that he would not defeat 3 trained bandits. So the best thing was to simply run away from them. Our hero, thanks to his pumped-up agility, turned out to be faster than all of them. But a bullet that flew a millimeter past his head quickly changed the course of events. Even if Jack is 10 times faster than all of them put together, it is simply impossible to be faster than a bullet. Luckily, they were surrounded by dense forest in which to hide. Now, catching our hero was a matter of principle for these bandits. After a couple of minutes of searching, the girl heard some rustling in the bushes nearby, and without thinking, she started shooting at that bush. And to her surprise, there was no one there, but Jack appeared right behind her. And since she fired all her bullets into the void, our hero took her prisoner. Now that the cold steel blade was at her throat, she didn't feel so confident. Jack gave the bandits an ultimatum. They dropped their weapons and let him go, or he kills her. The girl begged her partners to agree to all conditions, just to survive. But bandits are bandits. They didn't give a damn if she died. It was even better for them. The loot would have to be divided between 2, not 3. And then something happened that Jack could not have predicted. The bandits shot their partner themselves, after which, one of them admitted that they were going to kill her anyway. What surprised our hero most was how easily he did it, as if he had killed not a person, but an ant. Well, this is the real world, the world of the Rune Masters, merciless and cruel. It is completely different from the city. When suddenly the bandit put a gun to our hero's head and said, "You are quite strong. Don't you want to work together?" If Jack wants to survive in this world, if he wants to protect Scarlet and become a master of runes, he must give up his ideals and naive thinking. And if that means he has to get his hands dirty with blood, then so be it. Getting involved with these guys is tantamount to suicide, so the guy decided to take a risk by putting his life on the line. Taking advantage of the moment of surprise, the guy knocked the bandit down. Considering the circumstances in which our hero found himself, it would have been very reckless to act in this way. But Jack wasn't one to do anything without a plan. There was an explosion, and a huge hole appeared in the chest of one of the bandits. The guy picked up the dead girl's pistol and, without thinking, fired a bullet straight at the bandits. Killing a man is a serious act. Jack couldn't afford to die here, when suddenly, a bandit who was offering a deal opened fire. Luckily, he was a lousy shot, and our hero was able to return from a couple of shots. Now, when the enemy is in the most vulnerable position, we need to act. Taking advantage of his agility, the guy went around the flank of the bandit and aimed his pistol straight at his head. It's amazing how powerfully and quickly wildlife can change people. A shot rang out, and the last bandit was killed. If his physical abilities were on, he would have died. But now we must leave. The smell of blood will soon attract the rune beasts here. Considering how far Jack has come, he simply has to get his hands on this chest. Meanwhile, Eric and his team were making their way closer and closer to the center of the dungeon. Suddenly, someone screamed not far from them. "Captain, can we go check?" asked the smart guy with the eye patch. "I don't care. They're not our competitors anyway," answered the captain. Eric also supported the captain, reminding him that they were obliged to protect him and not save everyone in a row. Surprisingly, they had been in the dungeon for quite a long time, but still hadn't met the rune beasts. On their way, they encountered only frightened people who asked for help. So they met one guy who was shaking with fear and promised to pay the mercenaries if they saved him. Unable to bear what he thought was a respectful address, Eric shouted, "These are my people. Get lost and find someone else." But it was too late. The rune beast caught up with this guy. The monster, with its powerful jaws, tore the poor fellow into two parts. This is the first time Eric encounters the reality of the wild. The monster they were unfortunate enough to encounter was a rune beast of rank F, a shadow wolf. Luckily, they came across a very young individual and also tired, so the mercenaries decided to finish him off. "What are you doing? You're not even rune masters," Eric screamed in fear. "Don't underestimate us," the captain answered with a slight smile. "It's true, these mercenaries are not awakened, but they are very different from everyone else. Since childhood, they grew up in the wild and fought with such beasts every day, just to survive. They adhere to the principles that skills and knowledge are much more important than strength, and it must be admitted that they are professionals in their field." The one-eyed mercenary killed the rune beast with ease alone, and the runestone he received was enough to last them for several weeks. After seeing what his team could do, Eric wanted them to do something more for him. "Dude, we're only getting paid to protect you. If you want us to do something, you're going to have to pay," the captain whispered. "Don't worry, I have enough money. If we run into Jack in the dungeon, kill him," Eric added with a wild laugh. Meanwhile, the situation at the entrance to the dungeon was quite tense. Arena was very worried about how things were going with our hero. Noticing this, the monkey said with an ambiguous smile, "Madam, you seem to care about him very much." The girl blushed and replied, "So I just think he's different from the others. So I'm a little curious, that's all." The mercenary agreed with this. Jack's fighting abilities far exceed those of ordinary people, but the problem is that his opponents are not weaklings either, and some have even acquired their own teams, and this worried the mercenary much more than the runic beasts. 3 hours had already passed since the opening of the dungeon, and during this time, Jack reached the palace of the god of death. It looks like he's the first one to get here. Thanks to the stealth skills taught to him by the firefox, he was able to avoid encounters with monsters and people, so he got there faster. It would be nice if this were true. As soon as Jack approached the palace, someone attacked him from behind. After dodging, our hero sees that a katana has been thrown at him. And who do you think got to the palace at the same time as Jack? That's right, Eric and his thugs. And judging by what the guy agreed with them, our hero won't get the warmest welcome. Just by looking at Eric, Jack knew what he was about to do. It was hard to believe that his former classmate hated him so much. Our hero was aware that if he had to kill Eric, he would do it without regret. When suddenly the guy screamed, "Kill him!" After which, the mercenaries roughly rushed at Jack. Yes, they may not be awakened, but there are more of them. Jack is much stronger than any of them, but the problem is that they act together as one machine. Such an enemy, you need not only to dodge, but also immediately counterattack. Noticing how our hero was able to dodge and strike one of them in less than a second, the mercenaries realized that the fight would not be easy. When suddenly Eric shouted, "What are you doing? He's an ordinary man, just cut off his head." The boy attracted the attention of the local creatures with his screams. While everyone was busy fighting each other, the monster snuck up and killed one of the mercenaries. It was a red-striped toad, a rune beast of the F rank. It has a large body, a long tongue, and incredible jumping ability. This is what happens when you listen to the orders of a spoiled brat in the wild. To be honest, none of them thought that there would be rune beasts near the palace of the death god. And then Eric opened his damn mouth again. Forget about him. Our main goal is the chest. Despite the loss, the captain understood that the guy could no longer be saved, which meant he needed to get on with the task. But before entering the temple, the man wanted to give Jack a small gift. Taking something out of his pocket, he threw it to our hero. Confused, Jack froze, and the bottle that the mercenary gave him exploded, scattering some kind of powder. It was a special powder extracted from the body of a female toad. Once it touches your skin, you become the red toad's only target. Thus, the captain wanted to eliminate the potential threat from our hero. Eric was sure that the awakening medicine was already his, and Jack was practically dead. Our hero, frankly speaking, thought so too. It is unlikely that he will be able to take the chest faster than Eric, as well as defeat the toad. But even in this critical situation, Jack was not going to give up. The chances are slim, but they exist. Jumping over the toad, the guy opened fire. As expected, regular bullets were completely ineffective, but all is not lost. The red toad's weak point is its belly, and Jack has similar experience hunting boar. While the guy was thinking about how to make the monster open a vulnerable area, the toad knocked the gun out of his hands with its long tongue. Well, now the situation has become even worse. Our hero has lost his weapon, but here the knowledge gained at the academy came in handy. Red-striped toads are unable to distinguish smells. They use their vision for hunting, and are very sensitive to moving targets. Knowing this, Jack threw his jacket to distract the monster from himself, and luckily, this plan worked perfectly. The monster jumped to reach the jacket, exposing his belly. And despite the fact that our hero didn't have a pistol, he did have a dagger. One precise cut was enough to kill this toad. By the way, this is already the 9th F-rank monster in our hero's collection. One more, and the system mission will be completed. At that moment, Jack was incredibly glad that he had not missed classes at the academy. After everything that happened, our hero firmly decided that he had to kill Eric and the mercenaries. The temple of the god of death was quite large, but finding the statue of God at the foot of which stood the chest was not so difficult. Seeing the chest, Eric couldn't hold back his emotions and shouted, "Finally, this idiot is dead, and I'll get the cure." When suddenly one of the mercenaries whispered, "Captain, I have a strange feeling about this place." "Don't worry so much. I'll take the chest now and we'll leave here," his partner answered with a smile. "Stop!" a familiar voice shouted. "Eric, this chest is mine. If necessary, I will rip your head off," Jack added angrily. Seeing our hero, the guy asked in a squeaky voice, "Captain, why is he still alive?" The man couldn't believe his eyes. He was sure that the monster would tear Jack to pieces. Stepping forward, Eric said, "I didn't think you could escape that toad, but are you really that stupid to come here?" "Guys, kill him! Whoever brings me his head will get a bonus," the guy continued, when suddenly, the temple of the death god began to shake as if there was an earthquake, because of which the statue collapsed. Although, to be more precise, it was precisely because of what was hidden inside her that everything began to tremble. All this time, under the statue slept the horned leopard lizard, a Rune beast of rank F, a powerful predator with poisonous fangs and claws. This lizard is the strongest monster of the F rank. It is not inferior even to the beast of the E rank. The only good thing was that this monster was wounded. He lost his tail, one of his most powerful weapons. After seeing the leopard lizard, Eric's mercenary understood why the Ash Gang didn't personally clear out this dungeon. Because for this monster, they are just cannon fodder. All they can do is attack and hope to survive. This lizard is considered an ideal hunter due to its outstanding fighting abilities, and everyone knew about it. But he still turned out to be stronger than he should have been. With one blow, he almost killed all the mercenaries. Jack assumed that the monster was in a state of rage after losing part of its tail. By underestimating their enemy, the mercenaries lost another member of the group. Trying to do at least something, the captain took out a hand grenade. Pulling the pin, he threw it straight at the lizard's face, which only managed to scratch him a little. Seeing that the monsters were confused, Eric shouted, "Excellent, Captain. Throw some more." "I would be glad to. We're all out of grenades," the mercenary answered fearfully. With his previous attack, the man only made the already angry lizard even more angry. Realizing that they would not be able to win, the mercenaries tried to run away from him. But to no avail, the lizard simply crushed them, turning their bodies into a pile of meat and bones. What he saw shocked Eric. The boy froze like a statue and whispered in a trembling voice, "Dad, Mom, save me." Jack didn't waste any time. Realizing that the monster was much superior to them, he immediately began to run away. "Bullet, please save me. We studied together for many years, I beg you." Eric cried out in tears. "Stop whining, I'm in danger too," Jack answered. "Let's quickly climb this rock for now," our hero added, climbing up the collapsed walls. Unlike Jack, Eric was weak and could not climb the rock. Our hero couldn't believe that with such physical training, the guy was smart enough to go into this dungeon. No matter what, Jack couldn't just let the lizard tear the boy apart. Grabbing Eric by the jacket, he began to drag him up, and how quickly the guy's attitude towards Jack changed. Now he was begging him to come up with something to save their lives. Our hero had only 3 grenades, which would be ineffective against the horned lizard. But the problem is that they have nothing else. So the guys decided to take a risk. Waiting for the right moment, Jack threw all the grenades straight into his mouth. The explosion was incredibly powerful. The guys even thought that this was enough to kill the lizard. But then a paw with huge claws appeared from a cloud of dust. The grenades were not enough to kill the monster, but they were enough to seriously injure it. Remembering his lessons at the academy, Jack quickly came up with a way to finish off the monster without a weapon. All the power of the beast's runes is in their runestones, so if you remove it, the monster will die. Jack did just that, thus completing the system mission. But he received a runic spirit development potion and a random weapon made from an E-rank runestone as a reward. Now he can drink the potion and level up. But most importantly, the chest is right in front of him. He is just one step away from becoming a rune master. However, it is important to remember what can happen when you rescue a snake. Realizing that his life was not in danger, Eric simply pushed Jack off the cliff. Watching our hero fly down, the guy joyfully shouted, "If it weren't for you, I could have died here. But you are destined to die, and I will become a master." I wonder what will have to happen for Jack to finally understand that people can't be trusted. Luckily, our hero also had Arena's gift. As you may remember, this is a special item that saves you from falling from heights. A second before he turned into a pancake, Jack activated it and landed on a soft cushion of air. After which, I immediately took the medicine to increase my even spirit, raising your level to 10th and your runic spirit to 80%. And he invested all the attribute points he received for leveling up into strength. Besides, he wanted to choose a random weapon for the system mission right now. In his case, the choice became obvious. The Death God Rifle, a weapon made of E-rank runestone, has 3 slots for runestones, has automatic aiming, can convert the energy of the master's runes or runestones into bullets with rune energy. The perfect weapon for Jack. Seeing all this, Eric screamed, "How come you didn't die? And you also took out a weapon from a runestone, just like a rune master. How is that possible?" Taking aim at Eric's head, our hero replied, "If you have any questions, go to hell and look there." Having received a couple of bullets, Eric winced in pain, and so that he wouldn't suffer, Jack fired another bullet, after which the boy's lifeless body fell down from the cliff. Seeing Eric's body hit the stone floor and his head split in half, Jack whispered with both lightness and sadness, "It's all finally over too." At this point, the guy received a new system task. You must awaken to overcome the current limitation. Now, our hero is little different from a rune master of rank F. If he cannot awaken, this will be his limit. With the help of the awakening drug, he will remove these restrictions. Jack is sure that the path will be difficult, but he will not turn back. More than 5 hours have passed since the dungeon was opened. All this time, the skinny monkey and Arena were waiting for Jack at the exit, while the bandits from the Ash gang were getting drunk. The girl was very worried. Dawn was in less than half an hour, and our hero had not yet returned. Eric's parents were also worried, but they were confident that everything was fine with their son because he had a group of professional mercenaries with him. When suddenly the entrance to the dungeon began to behave erratically, which meant that someone was leaving. Jin and his mercenary were eager to see the lucky guy who was able to get the chest. What can I say? Everyone was curious who it was, and to the surprise of many, it was Jack who chained the chest and dragged it. Jin couldn't believe his eyes, because even his better fighters couldn't get this chest. The rest have already realized that their relatives and friends will not receive the awakening medicine. The first one to approach our hero was the skinny monkey, and congratulated him. Arena just looked at him, and couldn't believe that he really had coped with all the tests. When suddenly, Eric's mother grabbed Jack by the jacket and started shouting something about Eric. She accused our hero of killing her son, but Jack denied everything. Moreover, she had no evidence to support her accusation. But then the boy's father took out his sword and pointed it at Jack, after which he said, "We hired 4 experienced bodyguards for him. They would have reached the chest before you. But you brought the chest, so it cannot be that your paths will not cross." Our hero thought he would be safe since no one saw him kill Eric, but it seems he was too naive again. In general, despite the lack of evidence, the boy's parents were sure that it was Jack who killed their son. But then Jean intervened. "Before you behaved so arrogantly on my territory, did you ask permission? You are a bandit, and you can't tell me the master of runes. Go away, I'll kill him," Eric's dad shouted angrily. "Now it's clear who your son is such an idiot after. This guy got what I need. If you touch him, you'll return to the city in pieces." answered Jin. Despite being a madman and a murderer, Jin knew what honor was, and he always kept his word. In general, not wanting to make new enemies, Eric's parents retreated, but the man did not give up on killing Jack. He was going to do it before they returned to the city. Our hero understood perfectly well that they would try to take revenge. He was tormented by a feeling of injustice inside. After all, it was Eric who tried to kill him, and he was being made out to be the bad guy. When suddenly, Jin threw some kind of can to our hero, after which he said, "You deserve this award. I hope everything works out for you. And by the way, Jack Bullet, I remember you," the mercenary added in a gloomy voice. And even more, Jin invited our hero to join his gang if he didn't want to live in the city. When suddenly, Arena noticed that the rescue bandage she gave our hero was missing. Noticing the girl's excited look, Jin said, "Your gift saved me." Hearing this, the girl cried out enthusiastically, "Really? Tell me what happened." "Not here first. Let's go back to camp," the monkey said, coughing. And indeed, after Jack received the awakening medicine, he became the main target of all these mercenaries. Without a second's delay, they boarded the shuttle and flew away. As soon as they took off, the thin monkey advised Jack to drink the awakening medicine immediately so that it would not be stolen, and also so that he would have time to wake up by the time Eric's parents got to him. Once he drinks it, he can become a master of runes, or a cripple, or even die. But Jack drank the contents of the bottle without hesitation. He knew all the risks, and was willing to take them in order to become a rune master. The effect of the medicine began to be felt after just 10 minutes. The guy turned pale and broke out in a cold sweat. He looked like he was about to die. But this is a completely normal reaction of the body to the medicine. The feeling as if the skin is torn and the bones are bursting, only after going through this benefit, a person can become a master. Arena was delighted that despite all the pain, Jack did not utter a word. What our hero is feeling now can be described as follows. "I am being boiled in hot oil and at the same time in an icy mountain. It is impossible to imagine a more terrible pain, but he endures everything for the sake of his goal." When suddenly, a couple of meters from their shuttle, a couple of shots rang out. As expected, they were attacked. And who do you think did it? That's right. These are Eric's parents. They were delirious with the idea of killing Jack to avenge their son. They were even ready to sacrifice their own lives for this. Even if you wanted to, the monkey's shuttle is far inferior in firepower to the shuttle of Eric's parents. The only thing left for them to do is try to hide from them. Taking advantage of the small size of his ship, the monkey decided to try to hide in the forest. But that would be too easy. On Eric's parents' shuttle, there was a launcher with homing missiles with infrared heads. In dense vegetation, they are poor at pursuing targets, but they have very destructive power. The explosion slightly damaged the hull of the mercenary's ship, and the fire that arose due to the explosion forced the monkey to rise higher. Now, they have become an easy target. The only hope is the monkey's skill. For a couple of minutes, the mercenary successfully dodged, but at some point, one of the engines failed. Then the skinny monkey asked to change places with Arena. Seeing the girl's frightened face, the man shouted, "Just don't tell me you can't drive. I have rights, but—" "No," Arena answered. But despite this, they still swapped places. The mercenary instructed the girl to move in a zigzag pattern while he fired back. From the outside, it seemed very stupid to shoot back at a combat shuttle with a regular machine gun. But they certainly wouldn't escape from them with one engine, so they had no other choice. As expected, the shots from the machine gun did not produce any results. The thing is that Eric's parents' shuttle is covered with special armor that even an E-rank monster can't penetrate. The monkeys had a small gift for them, special flash grenades that will blind you for a few minutes. Now, Eric's parents simply won't be able to physically pursue them. Their shuttle has gone into autopilot mode. This means that our heroes can fly safely to the camp. Felt the taste of victory. The skinny monkey laughed and shouted, "I don't care that you are a master of runes, you still lost." And at that moment, the man heard a painfully familiar noise behind him. It was the sound of a red-tailed gull's wings, which the mercenary miraculously managed to dodge. Although the grenades helped get rid of Eric's parents, they attracted the attention of the local monsters. With its piercing scream, the monster caused irreparable damage to our hero's ship. All the sensors were sounding the alarm. As a result, the remaining engine failed, and they crashed right in the forest. And by this time, Eric's parents had regained their sight, and the first thing they saw was our hero's ship crashing in the forest. Even though the chances of surviving after such a thing were slim, they wanted to make sure for themselves that Jack was dead. Fortunately, the ship's fall was cushioned by the surrounding trees, so our heroes escaped with only minor bruises. When suddenly a voice came from the depths of the forest. "Today, none of you will leave here alive." The boys looked up and saw Eric's parents standing in front of them, eager to get Jack's head. The situation was worse than ever. The monkey himself couldn't cope with them. But then a cut appeared on the man's face. He didn't even notice how it happened. This is the work of Rune, who is ready to protect Jack at the cost of her own life. Although she doesn't have a lot of combat experience behind her, she is an E-rank rune master. The only problem was that both of Eric's parents were E-rank rune masters, and they had a lot of combat experience under their belts. Karen was the first to attack. Her attacks were fast and deadly, and Antu decided to quickly kill the monkey and then take on Jack. But fortunately, the mercenary always carries a runestone with him, which turns into a machine gun, and it would have been an easy victory if Anto had not had the special armor that was given to him during his service. What can I say, Karen had such armor too, and it gave them a huge advantage. After all, in addition to protection, this armor added agility and strength to its owner. Seeing all this, the monkey said goodbye to his life. There was no chance that they would be able to defeat Karen and Antu. Feeling his absolute superiority, the man allowed himself to gloat. "You are brave. For this, I will reward you with a quick death." Thanks to the special equipment, the speed of his attacks increased to such a level that it was difficult for the human eye to follow him. Despite this, Rune was able to successfully deflect his blow. You could say that only a miracle saved her. Well, let's remember the first attack that Anto didn't even notice. Rune's highest stat was dexterity, and she also has the same set of armor as him, with a built-in speed rune. In other words, the girl is superior to Anto in every way. Now the situation doesn't seem so hopeless. All that's needed is for the monkey to be able to hold out long enough. In addition to everything, Rune had several very serious attacking skills in her arsenal. The man was able to defend himself from her blow, but lost half of the strength of his suit. He understood perfectly well that if everything continued in the same spirit, he would soon die. And Rune understood this too, so she attacked him without stopping, not giving him the opportunity to rest and come up with a plan. Well, the man had a small gift for her in the form of a smoke grenade. Real combat is not just about using skills, but also using the brain as the main weapon. While Rune was disoriented, Antu started shooting at her. Of course, her suit held up the bullets, but it lost most of its strength. Taking aim at her head, the man said, "You have great potential, but too little experience to fight me." But his words didn't bother Rune. She was more concerned about the fact that her right arm was paralyzed, and she would no longer be able to fully use swords. As he slowly pulled the trigger, Antu imagined how he would take all of her gear and make a ton of money from it. Finally, the man said, "It's a pity that you will smear the beautiful armor with your brains," after which a shot rang out, but Rune was still alive, and the man's left arm was shot through and through. Meet the F-rank rune master. Profession, sniper. Jack Bullet. You got it right. Our hero has finally awakened. His rifle, God of Death, combined with the power of Iram, is capable of penetrating any armor. When suddenly the skinny monkey screamed, "But what about you idiots, who won't leave here alive now? It should have been our Eric in your place, and for this you will pay with your head." Karen screamed in rage. But Jack decided not to waste time on pointless conversation. Instead, he took aim at Anto. Taking aim, our hero still couldn't take in what had happened. He finally became a master of runes. This means that his whole life will change. The bullet fired from the death god pierced the man's reinforced armor right through, shattering his shoulder. Bleeding, he asked, "How is this possible? You are only a rune master and F rank. How could you penetrate my armor?" "I'll tell you a secret before I die. My rifle is an E rank weapon," Jack answered indifferently. It's time to put an end to this battle that Eric's parents started. At that moment, Karen realized that in the pursuit of revenge, they had lost everything. However, it was too late. They had chosen their own path. Jack doesn't want to waste his time on them. He fired a bullet straight into the back of Anto's head, but he decided to spare Karen, considering that having lost her son and husband, she would become. Approaching the woman, Jack said, "I didn't want to kill anyone, but you forced me to do it. You killed my son and my husband with it, you demon. Don't think I'm gonna let this go. Karen screamed, heartbroken. Shut your mouth. You wanted to kill him, and now you're accusing him, Irina replied, unable to bear the woman's impudence. But Jack stopped the girl, saying that words would not help, because people like them only understand strength. Watching everything from the side, the monkey could not believe his eyes. Our hero had just woken up, and was already able to defeat the master of the E-rank runes. And besides, he is an excellent sniper, with a very rare and powerful weapon. This means that the skinny monkey now has the weakest weapon in the Bloodwolf gang. Despite everything that had just happened, Karen did not stop threatening Jack, to which the monkey replied, I don't know what this guy is up to, but I won't let you go. And even despite the threats, the woman did not think of running away. She was not afraid of death, because she had already lost everything most precious. When suddenly a strange whistle was heard, and a moment later, an arrow with explosives landed near our heroes. Because of their squabbles, they did not notice how their pursuers were on their tail. There was an explosion, and Jack instinctively covered Irina with his body. Due to the blast wave, our hero received very serious damage to his internal organs. Noticing that the guy was breathing heavily, the girl put him on the ground and said, Why did you do this? I am a rune master of the E rank with armor. Luckily, the rest of the team were not seriously injured. After waiting for the dust from the explosion to settle, a group of people emerged from the forest. Irina immediately recognized them. They were the same bandits who were hanging around near the entrance to the portal. These people wanted only one thing, the awakening medicine. They threatened to kill everyone if they did not get it. Karen understood perfectly well that she would not be able to defeat Jack, Irina, and the monkey alone. So when the bandits asked, Where is the awakening medicine? She pointed her finger at our heroes and said, They have it. And of course, they believed her and began to demand medicine from Jack. In general, thanks to Karen, our heroes have huge problems. The point is that even if he wanted to, Jack wouldn't be able to give them the medicine because he had already used it. Realizing how serious the advantage was in favor of the enemy, our hero said, Monkey, take Irina and run away. I will hold them off as long as I can. The kid didn't understand. My Bloodwolves don't abandon their own, the mercenary answered. And Irina supported him. Hearing all this, Karen said sarcastically, How touching it is. But none of you will leave here alive. Not wanting to waste time on pointless conversation, the bandits went on the attack. More precisely, they were going to do it, but they were stopped by the appearance of 2 combat shuttles overhead. These were the ships of the Bloodwolves. Not even a second passed before the mercenaries landed. Well, let's be honest. A group of bandits doesn't stand a chance against a whole team of professional mercenaries. The Firefox gave the bandit a chance to simply leave. Feeling the energy emanating from our hero, the girl congratulated him on his awakening. It's amazing how perceptive she is to be able to sense this. Despite the mercenaries' attempt to resolve the situation peacefully, the bandits chose to fight. They were still outnumbered and thought they could win. When suddenly, out of nowhere, a poisonous wolf appeared and said, Idiot, do you want problems with my team? Frightened by the captain, the bandit whispered in a trembling voice, I didn't know that these were your people. We don't need problems. Pointing his sword at them, the poisonous wolf gave them 5 seconds to leave. Not wanting to get involved with the gang of Bloodwolves, the bandits bowed their heads and began to leave. But then Karen screamed, promising $1 million and a suit of armor to anyone who killed Jack. Of course, no one wanted problems with a gang of professional mercenaries, but $1 million and runestone armor. This is the reward that bandits are willing to risk for. Realizing that a fight could not be avoided, Jack told Firefox that he could help, to which the girl replied, Relax, someone else will deal with them. Our hero didn't understand what she was talking about, until I saw an entire squadron of combat shuttles. There was only one question. Who is it? Whoever it was, he quickly took aim at the bandits. Looking up, everyone asked themselves one question. Who is this? Even Carl was shocked. After all, this is a whole squadron of the newest shuttles, which are capable of destroying a rank A monster with one salvo. No one had any idea who this squadron belonged to, except Irina. In shock, Jack shouted, Fox, I never thought we could call so many combat shuttles. In response, the girl only smiled and whispered, You are so stupid. In short, the poisonous wolf gave the bandits one last chance to escape. Otherwise, death would await them all. and they knew this very well. This is what real victory means: to defeat the enemy without firing a single shot. The bandits had no choice but to throw down their weapons and run away. The Bloodwolves also released Karen, but before leaving, the woman promised to take revenge. And these were not empty threats. She enjoyed great authority in the city. When it was all over, Jack came up to the fiery Lucy and said, "Thank you very much. Now I owe the team even more." "You can save these words for Arena," the girl answered with a smile. Naturally, our hero knew that Arena was from a rich family. But it seems that everything is much more complicated, when suddenly the poisonous wolf asked Jack to come over. Meanwhile, one of the shuttles began to land. Arena knew that an instructive lecture was about to begin. Meet the master of runes of the A rank, profession, swordsman, Arthur, one of the most powerful rune masters in the city, and also Arena's uncle. Arthur and his team came here for only one reason: to save his niece. Even though the girl was a very powerful rune master, her family still didn't want her to become a warrior, and even more so fought with bandits and cut their heads in the wild. When suddenly Arthur said, "Christian, Mr. Tan is very upset that you did not keep an eye on his daughter." After thinking for a moment, Christian replied, "Since Mr. Tan is dissatisfied, upon returning to the city I will resign." "Uncle, no. The professor is not to blame," Arena screamed indignantly. "Darling, I believe you, but you know your father. Someone has to be held accountable." Arthur replied with a stony face. In this situation, there was no point in arguing. Not a single person in the city would go against Arena's dad. Having settled this point, Arthur wanted to find out who those bandits were hunting, and then Harry whispered uncertainly, "For Jack." Arthur had never heard of him before, but in light of recent events, the man wanted to talk to our heroes. Meanwhile, the poisonous wolf congratulated Jack on his awakening, when suddenly the mountain tiger said, "I heard that the awakening medicine can improve the rune spirit. I wonder how much yours has increased." Jack was too busy to check his stats window after waking up. Seeing his results, the guy froze in surprise. At the moment, his rune spirit is 101%. But how is this possible, and what does it mean? Fortunately, there was an explanation for the system. Runic spirit has exceeded 100%. The excess will be saved and added to the skill power ratio. The rune energy transfer rate has also been improved. In other words, the system will redirect all the experience gained to strengthening skills. In other words, the system gave our hero unlimited potential for development. With the right efforts, sooner or later, Jack will become the strongest of the rune masters. The gap between ordinary people and a rune master is just a small difference in fighting ability. But in the case of our hero, the gap is colossal. This means that a huge responsibility falls on his shoulders. When suddenly a voice came from behind. "You are quite smart, but I wonder how strong you are." A little confused, Jack timidly asked, "Excuse me, but who are you?" "You're right. It's impolite of me. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Arthur, A-rank rune master, Arena's uncle, and a special consultant to the ministry," the man replied. Hearing this, even the poisonous wolf tensed up. The mercenary, like everyone else, was interested in who Arena really was. When they discovered the girl was missing, Kristen contacted her family, and here they are. And then it dawned on the poisonous wolf that Arena came from one of the 7 great families. When suddenly Arthur asked, "Jack, what is your relationship with the lady?" "Madam, if you mean Arena, then we are friends," our hero answered in surprise. Immediately after these words, Arthur grabbed Jack by the t-shirt and lifted him off the ground. Staring at the boy with the most menacing look imaginable, the man added, "Who do you think you are? Do you think you are fit to be Our Lady's friend?" Seeing this, the poisonous wolf grabbed his katana and shouted, "What are you doing?" Arena also did not stand aside. She asked her uncle to let our hero go. "I heard that it was an ordinary person and became a rune master recently after drinking the medicine. I'm impressed, but it doesn't change anything. The gap between you and the lady is huge. You're not friends, at most acquaintances," Arthur said, letting go of Jack. But Arena didn't agree with this. She considered our hero her friend, especially after he saved her life. Even despite this, Arthur was against their friendship. After all, he still thought that Arena was in danger because of Jack. After which the man added, "What do you think will happen when your father finds out that this guy put you in danger?" Knowing her uncle well enough, Arena understood what he wanted to say with these words. If she stays away from our hero, he won't have any problems. Arena didn't want Jack to have any problems because of her, so she agreed with her uncle and asked him to fly home. Although she was offended by Arthur, she understood that her father was to blame for everything. She dreamed of the day when she would leave her father's protection and become a full-fledged rune master. As she was leaving, the girl said goodbye to Jack and thanked him for the invaluable experience, and made a promise that soon they would fight shoulder to shoulder as equal rune masters. Jack thought that once he became a rune master, he would be able to live a peaceful life. But apparently the world is much more complicated. If you are not strong enough, you are not fit to be someone's friend, and other more powerful masters will look down on you. But even despite all this, the life of a rune master is still better than what it was before awakening. Now Jack can protect his family and friends, and thanks to the system, he will become the strongest master in history. After waiting for Arthur and Arena to leave, the fiery face approached our hero and asked, "When did you manage to become so close to her? Even though I haven't lived long enough to call myself an experienced woman, I can see that you have some feelings for her." Yes, I noticed that too. You kept looking even after she left. You're definitely in love, the skinny monkey added, laughing. Blushing, Jack replied, "Not at all. I was just thinking about something else." Although what our hero experiences cannot be called love, Arena left her mark on the guy's soul. The same can be said about the girl. Even if they never meet again, she will never forget Jack. Now that one member of the scientific team was missing, the poisonous wolf asked the professor if they would continue their research, to which he received an approving answer. When suddenly the poisonous wolf said, "Now there is one more member in our team, but don't worry, we won't take any extra payment." Up until this point, the Bloodwolves considered Jack their friend, and now that he has awakened, they have accepted him as an equal into their team of mercenaries. The very fact of becoming a mercenary did not particularly suit Jack. However, the Bloodwolves were very different from the usual understanding of mercenaries, and it was an honor for him to become one of them. Shaking hands, our hero said, "Rune Master of the F rank and Runestone Sniper, Jack Bullet reports. Please keep an eye on me." Over the next few days, the boy followed the team, carrying out various missions. He spent all his free time training, honing his skills as a rune master. After waking up, killing monsters became much easier, and thanks to the system, every killed animal brought him experience. His rapid progress did not go unnoticed. Jack also learned a lot from Christian, learning a lot about the rune beasts. And finally the day of return arrived. During the hunt with the Bloodwolves, our hero reached level 19 and significantly increased his characteristics. Upon returning home, Jack was only concerned with one question: how was Scarlet doing? During this time, the guy made a lot of new acquaintances, and you won't even believe it. He was able to become friends with Harry, who invited him to his home for dinner. 3 days later, the elite district of the city, Sky Sun. Arena's family had an estate in this area. Upon returning, the girl returned to her normal life, but it didn't bring her the same joy. Life in the city is comfortable. Arena constantly remembers those few days in the wild. She herself did not understand whether she missed the thrill of constant danger or Jack. At the moment when she was thinking about this once again, someone knocked on her room door. Opening the door, she saw the butler who brought a letter for her. It was an acceptance letter from Ji-Dao University. To be honest, this raised a lot of questions for Arena, because she hadn't even taken any exams. But she didn't need to. She's the daughter of the head of one of the 7 great families, so she's automatically accepted to any university she applies to. To all great families, a powerful force, which is strengthened by the authority and influence of the current union. They use technology and medical knowledge to develop new skills. When the Runestone Age came, they brought humanity into this world, so they are also called the pioneer families. And Arena is the only child of the Tianxing family. Anyone would want to be in her place, but the girls didn't need all this. She loved her father, but she didn't want him to constantly poke his nose into her affairs. What bothered her most was the thought that Jack had to risk his life to become a master, while for her everything came easy. And at the same time, he can choose the life he wants to live, as opposed to her. From all these thoughts, the girl wanted to relax in the park, in which Scarlet and Jack happened to be walking. The girl kept asking her older brother about his adventures in the wild, when suddenly our hero asked, "Do you want to tell me anything unusual?" Scarlet got nervous and replied, Do you mean my ability to control monsters? They say that only those born with 100% of the runic spirit can become tamers. Nothing unusual happened. Except, the girl whispered sadly. What happened? Jack shouted nervously. Nothing. My stomach is always growling, Scarlet added, laughing. No problem. This situation can be fixed, our hero answered with a smile on his face. Since he became a rune master, he also eats more than usual. This gave him the idea that Scarlet might have awakened and become a tamer. Therefore, she requires more energy. When suddenly Jack received a call from a poisonous wolf, who said that his share of the rune beasts had already been transferred to his bank account. After checking his banking app, the guy saw that his share was over 85,000. For him, it was simply a huge amount, but the rest of the team received several times more. Previously, our hero had to take a lot of risks to earn at least a couple of thousand a month. And now, in just a few days, he has earned more than he earned in a year. The captain also advised Jack to spend the money he earned on good equipment, and also celebrate with friends. After all, being a mercenary, you never know when your last day will come, and you need to enjoy every moment. Now that Jack had enough money in his bank account, he wanted to treat his sister to her favorite seafood, and for this he chose the best in the city, Golden Glory. Besides Scarlet, he also invited Dean and Alice. The boys couldn't help but notice the little girl's brutal appetite, but decided not to attach any special significance to it. When suddenly, during a friendly conversation, Alice said, I heard from my father that you killed many animals in the wild. That's true. But I gathered you for another reason. To celebrate the fact that we have all become rune masters. In fact, it's a really big holiday. They all dreamed of becoming warriors since childhood. The friends were even a little jealous of Jack, since he was the only one of them who had been in the wild. However, awakening is not all. Now they need to enter a special university. They actually have a lot of choice. The best university is considered to be Jidao. In second place is the military academy, and then Nando University. However, one understood that he was not destined to be a warrior, so he decided to enter the academic university to study rune beasts, to which our hero replied, a wise decision. In the wild, you would have made a quick pie out of you. Alice decided to enter the military academy. With her skills, it would be quite easy to do this. Besides, she wanted to follow in the footsteps of her father, who used to be an outstanding military man. But then Scarlet shouted, Brother, what university are you going to go to? After these words, the guys all looked at her with a sad expression. Alice sighed heavily, adding, Your brother was expelled from the academy, so he cannot take any entrance exams, and accordingly, cannot enter university. For Scarlet, this news was devastating. In today's world, resources are very limited, and every place at a university is very valuable. Realizing the unfairness of the situation, Alice added, It's all Eric's fault. If I see him again, I'll break a couple of his ribs. It looks like the guys don't know what happened in the dungeon, and it would be better if they didn't find out anything at all. And yet there is a problem. If Jack wants to become a real master of runes, then he simply needs to graduate from a special university. And in fact, this is a very big problem. Without a diploma, you can forget about a bright future. Luckily, our hero came up with a plan as soon as he was expelled from the academy. The situation was extremely important, so when his friends found out that Jack had a plan, they asked him to tell them the details. I didn't want to say it, but since you asked, have you ever heard of storm trials? Just from their expressions, it was clear that Dean and Alice had no idea what Jack was talking about. After being expelled, our hero had a question. How can he become a master of runes? And with this question, he went to Uncle Sam, and the man told the boy about a special exam that the union was holding to find exceptional talents. The sponsors are 10 of the best universities, and by winning this competition, you can choose one of them. In general, the trial of the storm gives a chance to everyone who wants to get a place at the university. And for Jack, this is the ideal, and most importantly, the only option. To pass the storm test, all participants must survive for 3 days on the abandoned island. At the same time, eliminate opponents or kill to get points. The island was once a tourist destination. 10 years ago, it was invaded by rune beasts that came from the space wormholes. The magnetic field around the island was disrupted, causing constant thunderstorms. So, in addition to being attacked by animals and other participants in the test, you have to be careful of the storm. In general, during this test, the chance of dying is higher than anywhere else. Surviving in such an environment for 3 days is a difficult task in itself, and being among the best. After learning about Jack's plan, Dean was speechless. He didn't want his best friend to go to such a horrible place. Moreover, applying for this exam is not that easy. It requires the signature of 2 rune masters. Sam and the poisonous wolf vouched for our hero. To reassure his loved ones, Jack said, "Don't worry. Participants will be given life-saving devices." With a heavy sigh, Alice raised her glass and said, "There is no point in trying to convince you otherwise, so I wish you good luck." Jack felt good knowing that his friends believed in him. After finishing dinner, everyone went home. Today was the best day Jack and Scarlet had had in years. Since waking up, all 5 of the guy's main senses have become much stronger. Sometimes he can feel people's gazes. Right now, 2 people with bad intentions are following him, and this feeling did not disappear even on the way home. Realizing that his pursuers could not be led home, Jack chose an unusual route. Substitute this, Scarlet, scared, asked, "Jack, where are we going?" "Quiet. I need to take care of something," the guy answered. Speeding up, our hero hid his sister and asked her to behave quietly, no matter what happened. And a couple of minutes later, Jack's feeling was confirmed. From the park until now, the guys were watched by the fat dragon and the crying dragon. Previously, our hero would never have dared to stand against them alone. But everything in this life changes, and Jack is no longer the defenseless little boy he once was. But the bandits don't need to know that. Without talking to them, the guy broke a couple of the fat dragon's ribs with his first blow, after which the crying dragon rushed at Jack with hysterical screams. Now the difference in their strength is simply colossal. For our hero, fighting these idiots is no more difficult than fighting a punching bag. It took literally a couple of light blows to neutralize 2 bandits. Having come to his senses, the fat dragon screamed, "What is happening? Where did he get such strength from? I understand your confusion. But now I am a master of runes, and you are 1 step away from becoming dead," Jack answered menacingly. Of course, the bandits didn't believe him because they were at the awakening ceremony and didn't see him there. Be that as it may, the dragons were more afraid of Tyler than Jack, so they were ready to do anything just to carry out his order. The bandits had also learned a new trick since their last encounter. Fat Dragon was confident that he could win with his skills. But all his confidence quickly disappeared as soon as Jack pointed his rifle at his head. Seeing the primal fear in the man's eyes, our hero asked, "Do you think my god of death should make a big hole in your head?" Realizing that resistance was futile, the fat dragon threw down his weapon and began to beg for mercy. At that moment, humanity awakened in our hero. He gave the bandits a chance to escape, but warned that next time he would kill them without hesitation. Hearing that it was all over, Scarlet came out of hiding. There was a genuine smile on her face. She was glad that Jack could now stand up for himself. What can I say? The guy himself was incredibly happy about it. Now it's time to go home. Tyler was a problem. Not to mention Karen was after him too. Jack knew that if they couldn't get to him, they would try to hurt Scarlet. In this situation, our hero has only 2 options. Either make them disappear, or take his sister and leave the city. But at the moment, none of these options can be implemented. In that case, Jack has only one choice. He needs to be strong enough to make Tyler and Karen change their minds, or find strong support, so that they don't dare harm Scarlet. The next day, early in the morning, the guy went to the gym. Most rune masters are very focused on their rune spirit. They hone their skills, completely forgetting about their bodies. Jack, however, was very different from them in his approach to his training. Even as a child, the boy understood that you can achieve anything only through hard work. But today's training is special. Our hero is on a daily system mission. He needs to perform a series of physical exercises a certain number of times to obtain a spirit enhancement item. Even professional boxers were shocked when they watched the guy train. At this moment, the force of our hero's blow is 811 kilograms. Uncle Sam and the poisonous wolf can handle a bandit like Tyler, but Karen will be more difficult. Before the test, Jack wants to increase his strength and find reliable support. The military, politicians, and big businessmen enjoy the greatest authority in the city. The military does not interfere in the affairs of citizens, and Karen is subordinate to the minister, so it will not work through politicians either. As for businessmen, they care most about their advantage, and Jack is just a rune master with a normal education. They have no reason to help him, and even its destructive power is unlikely to help in this situation. When suddenly, Uncle Sam shouted, "Jack!" Seeing that his blow had torn the punching bag apart, our hero replied, "Uncle, I'm sorry. I forgot to control my strength." "Forget it. It's just a sandbag. I'll get someone to remove it. The poisonous wolf is waiting for you," the man added. I wonder why the boss didn't warn me that he was coming. When he went outside, our hero saw that the poisonous wolf was worried about something. In general, Sam told him that in 3 days Jack had become even stronger, and now the man wanted to fight him. "Sorry, boss, but I still haven't caught up," our hero replied. "Well done. It's good that you didn't get cocky," the poisonous wolf replied, laughing. In general, the words about sparring were a joke. In fact, the man came here to go with the guy to the market and buy some things to test the storm. Jack is lucky. He has a rune weapon, but no skills. In general, with the available budget, buying a skill is the best option, because there is not enough money for good armor. Having learned such amazing news, our hero hugged the man, and literally lifting him onto his shoulder, he ran towards the rune market. Entrance to the rune market is open only to rune masters, and it belongs to one of the 7 main families. Here, rune masters can buy anything from a first aid kit to a shuttle. You can also sell rune beasts here. In other words, the poisonous wolf is a frequent guest here. The very fact that a person can enter here already means that his life is a success. You might be wondering, how do they know if a person is a rune master? It's not written on their forehead, so they have a special device to test rune energy. Fortunately, this device cannot find out any details except for the rank. After passing all the tests, Jack finally got to the rune market. The ground floor contains the cheapest and lowest quality items. They take advantage of the demand from newcomers like Jack. But the poisonous wolf was against him buying anything here because very dangerous tests await him ahead, and quality is very important. In addition, our hero's God of Death is an E-rank weapon and requires a special skill stone. These are exactly the ones that were sold on the 2nd floor. There, our heroes found higher quality and rare rune stones, but their price was also appropriate, when suddenly the poisonous wolf hugged the saleswoman and invited her to dinner. After which, he asked to show her some good skill stones for a sniper. The girl couldn't help but notice that Jack was very young and already a rune sniper. A minute later, the saleswoman showed them 3 rune stones that are popular among snipers. The first one is Piercing Shot. Allows the user to shoot a bullet coated with runic energy, giving it a penetrating effect. The second one is Shooting Technique. Allows the user to use the gun as a melee weapon to attack. And finally, the third one is Snake Eye. Allows the user to gain thermal vision for 3 seconds. Each of these runes is good in its own way and can save a life in a certain situation. Piercing damage is the highest, but Death God already has amazing damage. Shooting Technique is a good skill for survival, but if the sniper is discovered and surrounded, it is certain death. In general, Jack was most inclined towards the Snake Eye, and besides, the Firefox also has such a rune. The poisonous wolf also thought it was the best choice, but for good runes, you have to pay well. The Snake Eye cost 130,000. Of course, Jack didn't have that kind of money. And then the poisonous wolf took out his bank card and said that he would pay. Not understanding what was happening, our hero shouted, "Boss, and I can't give it back." Laughing, the man replied, "Now we're a family. You'll return the money when you get rich." The poisonous wolf simply couldn't send Jack into the storm trial without a good skill. Having packed the rune, the girl handed it to the guy and wished him good luck. New skill gives our hero more chances to win. But don't forget that his opponents will be prepared too, and perhaps their equipment will be superior to Jack's. Having finished his shopping, the man leaned towards the saleswoman and whispered with a smile, "Why don't we spend the evening together?" The girl, embarrassed, replied, "Our boss will be here, so I can't." "Your boss, you say? I think I know who you're talking about. It's not that hot babe named Erica," the man added with a grin. And in response, the girl bowed and politely said, "Greetings. If you want to have a drink with someone, go to the bar. Don't come here and disturb my staff," Erica said harshly but politely. "Am I right in thinking that you have some kind of rule prohibiting employees from drinking with customers, or am I wrong?" the poisonous wolf asked playfully. "There is no such rule." "No, but if I find out that she was harmed, you will be in big trouble," the girl added. In narrow circles, Erica is called the Rose because of her prickly character. Erica, like the saleswoman, turned her attention to Jack, or rather to the fact that he was still young. Not wanting to communicate with the mercenaries, the girl said, "Simone, we will soon have a VIP guest on the 3rd floor. Make some good tea." Well, the rumors were confirmed. Erica really does have a very bad character. Watching her leave, Jack couldn't help but say, "She looks like an important person." "Jackie, you're right about that. If you want, I'll tell you," the poisonous wolf answered, hugging the guy. Erica's family is the richest of the 7 families, and she is the illegitimate daughter of the 2nd master. Erica lived with her mother all her life, but after her mother died 3 years ago, she finally found her father and became a part of the family. However, the family does not want to acknowledge or accept her, so they sent her to this small area to run the market. It may seem like she is there to run the family business, but in reality, they have banished her from the family. But Erica is a smart and cunning woman. When she came here, the market had a lot of problems with bandits attacking their transport teams. But strategic decisions eliminated this problem. In general, under her management, the Rune market flourished again. If she doesn't like you, then it's better not to try to fix it. However, Jack had another plan. He saw Erica as a strong and independent woman with a lot of influence. The guy wanted to enlist her support to get rid of Tyler and Karen. Having bought everything why we came, the Bloody Wolf went on a love hunt. It's even surprising that he and Uncle Sam are friends. After all, they are so different. And our hero decided to walk through the floors and see what else was here, when suddenly his attention was drawn to a passerby. Jack had felt the aura that this stranger emitted somewhere before, and judging by the fact that Erica's guards were escorting him, this was that very VIP guest. A couple of minutes later in the office, Simone made tea as her boss asked, but this so-called VIP guest grabbed the girl and said, "You are so beautiful. I will take you with me. You will like the wild nature." Erica slammed her fist on the table and screamed, "Jean, behave yourself. You're not in the wild." Now this is interesting. The VIP guest was the leader of the Ash Gang, a famous bandit. Now it was clear why the aura emanating from him seemed so familiar to Jack. Taking off your cover, Jin said, "Your rules are absolute nonsense. Only force decides." "You're partly right, and believe me, there are people in the city stronger than you," Erica answered ambiguously. After finishing the meaningless conversations, Jin asked why she called him. After the war with the bandits, the Ash Gang became one of the partners of the Rune market. Therefore, Erica wanted to discuss some business issues with him. The girls' team has cleared all the transport roads leading to the city, except for the wrong road, which is blocked by the Ash Gang. Basically, Erica wants Jin to let her use this route for transportation purposes. But there was one problem. The Ash Gang only exists because of this road, and Erica knew this very well. So in return, she offered compensation to cover their losses. Without even hearing the proposal, Jin shouted, "Do you think you can buy me with money?" Erica thought he was an idiot. After all, his gang was blocking one of the main roads, and sooner or later his gang would be destroyed if they did not open the passage. However, the girl was used to getting everything she wanted, so she asked Jin what he wanted. "Great, that's a different story. I just need you to do one thing. I want you to make that bastard Pete get on his knees and bow to me 3 times, Gene shouted, slamming his fist on the table. "Are you serious? Don't be an idiot. No one has the ability to order the minister," Erica answered in surprise. Today's negotiations did not go according to plan. Gene wanted too much. When the bandit tried to leave, the guard stopped him because Erica hasn't given him permission to leave yet. Not used to being treated like that, Jin, without a word, punched the guard in the face. Pointing a gun at the poor guy, the bandit added, "Do you think that a weak scumbag like you can stop me?" Not wanting to turn her office into a bloodbath, Erica shouted, "Let him go." This is what happens when you have to deal with scumbags like Jin. He is a bandit and doesn't know what a rule is. Normal people would call him crazy. There were rumors that in the past, Gene worked for Minister Pete, but the minister beat his sisters to death. Former colleagues said that it was after that incident that Jin became the man we know. And in revenge for his sister, he killed the minister's wife, after which he escaped into the wild and formed the Ash Gang. Even though Erica is from a powerful family, her influence is on the same level as the minister, She has no leverage to order him to do anything. When suddenly the girl saw something strange and amazing. A cruel and crazy thug was happily hugging some guy, as if they were old friends. Looking closer, Erica realized that this unknown guy was with a poisonous wolf. She wondered what united them. A couple of minutes ago, Jack was walking around looking at different products, when suddenly someone snuck up from behind and grabbed him by the neck. At first, our hero thought it was Tyler, but to his surprise, it was Jin, who was calmly walking around the market, as if he were not the most wanted criminal in the area. Seeing our hero, the man said, laughing, "I thought you died that day. Why did you come to town? If the prosecutor finds out, you won't be able to leave," Jack whispered. "Don't worry about me. If I dared to come, of course, I'm sure I can leave," the man answered. To be honest, the guy was amazed by his courage. Laughing, Jin asked, "Baby, after I gave you the medicine, a whole crowd of idiots came after you. How did you survive?" The guy, embarrassed, replied, "To be honest, I was just lucky." Anyway, Jin didn't ask about the details. He was just glad to meet. Leaning over, the man whispered that his offer still stood, but he politely declined, saying that he had no plans to return to the wild. The bandit did not share his choice, but respected it. The thing is, Jack already had problems with Karen and Tyler. He was afraid that by getting involved with the Ash Gang, he would also have problems with the minister. Be that as it may, Jean promised that if Jack changed his mind, he would gladly accept him. But only a true hero or a madman would voluntarily join the Ash Gang, making the entire city his enemy. After a short conversation, the bandit politely said goodbye and left. The meeting with the genie made our hero clearly understand that he was too weak, because he could hardly withstand his pressure. While the guy was coming to his senses, Erica approached him, and in an impudent tone, asked his name. It was strange to Jack that she even approached him. People like that don't do anything for no reason. "My name is Jack Bullet, and you are Erica, right?" Dash answered our hero. Looking at the guy from head to toe, the girl said, "Are you a rune master? You seem puny. I have something to talk to you about. Follow me," Dash added Erica. To be honest, Jack felt very uncomfortable being in her office. They sat in absolute silence for a couple of minutes, until Simone brought him some special tea. Trying to appear polite, Jack took a couple of sips of tea, when suddenly Erica said, "The tea you are drinking is called sword thirst. The leaves are collected only in one place near the nest of the wild eagle of rank C. 1 cup of tea costs about 10,000. Hearing this, the guy thought that he would have to pay for it. But fortunately for him, it was a compliment. The whole time Jack was in her office, Erica remained silent. And then the girl asked what unites him and Jean. Knowing about her war with the bandits, our hero thought that Erica could tell the minister everything, so he pretended not to know any Jin. Laughing, the girl added, "And you're smarter than you seem. I like that. Anyway, I invited Jin here to discuss some business, but my relationship with him isn't very good, so the negotiations didn't take place. I saw him hugging you and you were happily chatting about something. If you can convince him to work with me, I will reward you generously." Jack wanted her to be in his debt, so he offered to negotiate the terms of the deal. Erica offered $1 million if the deal went through. "I need to feel this money. Moreover, I am already a master of runes. It is only a matter of time before I earn it myself. And my relationship with Jin is not as good as you think," our hero answered confidently. At first, Erica thought that Jack wanted more money and was just waiting for his offer. After thinking for a moment, Jack said, "I don't need your money. I need investments." "Investments? Of course I'll give you startup capital for your business and a place on the trading platform," Erica said happily. Jack continued smiling. "I'm glad you're willing to cooperate. But I don't need investments in the business. I need investments in me. Not only have I awakened, I have a great future. But there is no support, so there will be many problems and obstacles on the way. If Lady Erica is willing to support me and become my support when I become a strong rune master in the future, I will repay her in kind." But before the girl could say anything, our hero warned that he could convince Jin to cooperate, but he could not give any guarantees. "I like your ambitions, but it's more profitable for me to just give you $1 million. Why should I invest in your future?" Erica asked with a slight smile. "I noticed that your best guard is only a D rank. Overall, that's not bad. But within your family, they won't mean much, will they?" Jack replied. Since Erica can change the balance of power, our hero revealed the whole truth to her. He said that after awakening he reached 100% of the runic spirit, and that meant he had a lot of potential. And the fact that Jin was calling him to join the Ash Gang only confirmed that. People with 100% spirit often become A or S rank masters, and in this case, their cooperation can be beneficial to both in the long term. In general, Erica agreed to cooperate, but first she wanted to know his demands. First, Erica had to cover all of Jack's expenses for studying at the university. Second, Scarlet had to get the best treatment possible. Erica can fulfill these two requirements without any problem. And finally, the third requirement is that she must help our hero resolve the issue with Tyler and Karen. Given her background and the nature of her work, Erica knew both of them, and it wouldn't be difficult for her to resolve this issue. However, she was curious about how he got in touch with them. I accidentally stopped Tyler from introducing his illegal business, and as for Karan, it's a bit more complicated. A few days ago, her entire family wanted to kill me, but in the end, I killed her husband, Jack said without showing any emotion. The girl was surprised to learn about this. After all, our hero should have already been caught for the murder of a high-ranking rune master, which means Kren did not report this to the police. After thinking for a moment, Erica said, "Baby, do you understand what this means?" Of course, she wants revenge personally, Jack replied. In general, the girl promised that she would solve his question as soon as the guy helps her with Jin. She is a business-like girl and will not cooperate with someone who is not profitable. So she gave Jack the phone and asked him to call Jean right away. Even though the bandit is nice to our hero, this issue affects his business. So Jack has no idea how he will react. But it didn't matter. He had no choice but to try. Answering the call, Jin asked, "What again?" "Hello, Uncle Jean, it's me, Jack." Our hero answered shyly, "Baby, why are you using Erica's number?" "What? You refused to cooperate with me. Are you working for this?" The bandit shouted angrily. "Boss, you got it wrong. I don't work for her. I was hoping you'd agree to work with Erica as a favor to me," Jack said in a trembling voice. Without a second thought, Jean replied, "If you ask, then tell her that the deal will take place. I looked at your file and saw that you killed that scoundrel minister's subordinate. Since we both have the same enemy, I'll gladly help you," Jin added. However, now our hero is indebted to him. Our hero didn't know why the man hated the minister so much, and why he would need his help in the future. But now it is not so important. The main thing is that Jack fulfilled Erica's request. Noticing the girl's intent gaze, our hero said, laughing, "You heard it all yourself. It seems that Jin likes me." Erica knew that the bandit would not be able to refuse someone whose runic spirit had reached 100%. With each passing second, their union looked more and more promising for both sides. Besides, Erica will need a loyal ally for some purposes in the future, so helping Jack is in her interests. Now, when our hero fulfilled his part of the deal, the girl promised that she would solve all his problems. "What will you do next?" Primu participated in the storm test. That same evening, something interesting happened. Do you know the saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend"? So, Tyler and Carol met secretly to decide what to do with our hero. And believe me, they found out that Erica is now behind him. Member of one of the most powerful families and owner of a trading platform, any sane person would give up revenge in order to preserve what was left. But the two weren't going to back down. Karen had a plan. Since it would now be difficult for them to get to Jack, she wanted to eliminate our hero with the help of the minister. However, no self-respecting politician would risk his reputation for revenge, so Karen wanted to convince Mr. Pitt that Jack Bullet was a threat. 4 days until the entrance exams, the Firefox agreed to take the boy to test the storm. Firstly, to support him, and secondly, to protect him. While Jack is taking part in the test, his friends will be taking entrance exams to universities. During our hero's absence, Erica took responsibility for Scarlet's safety. The way to the Port Buria is not close. They will get there closer to the evening, and Jack decided to spend this time usefully. Instead of relaxing, the guy decided to take on a system mission that he hadn't managed to finish in the city. As a reward, he received a potion of spiritual development and some mysterious reward. Unfortunately, each time the spirit potion brings less and less of a boost. But a small increase in Rune spirit is not so scary, since this indicator is already high. Now his Rune spirit is 106%. Most of all, Our hero was interested in what kind of secret reward awaited him. After opening the system gift, Jack felt his hunter's glasses change. In addition to the basic functions, these glasses can now analyze the value of the target's combat abilities and change them. Wanting to test them, the guy looked at the Firefox and saw all of its characteristics. With these glasses, our hero can easily analyze the weaknesses of enemies and develop a plan. This can be very useful for survival. Noticing that Jack was staring at her with a ridiculous look, the fox shouted, "My eyes are going to dry out. Stop looking like that." "Sorry, I was just thinking," the guy answered happily. Even though there were still 3 days left before the test began, there were already many people in the port. Looking at the endless blue expanses, Jack said sadly, "This is the first time I see the sea." Smiling, the fox replied, "Tell him that you lived behind the wall." In general, after the appearance of the Rune beasts, the sea became a forbidden zone for people, when suddenly there was a loud noise. Another thunderstorm has begun on the island of storms. Jack wasn't too happy about the fact that he would have to stay there for 3 whole days. In addition, he will have to compete with the rest of the participants for the title of the best in order to get a place at the university. The rules of the challenge allowed teams to form, and additional points could be earned for excellent teamwork. A little later, Firefox took Jack to the Plaza Port. It is here that the winners of the test will take their oath. Noticing that Jack was nervous, the fox said, "Look, the trial of the storm is not as dangerous as the dungeon, but you need to give it your all. I will be waiting for your return." "Hey, don't you believe in me? You'll see, I'll be the best," our hero answered, smiling. A little earlier, all participants were given special badges. Participants must wear a badge as it tracks their activity and location. It can release an escape capsule to protect the participant in case of danger, but when this happens, the participant will be automatically disqualified. With this badge, at least Jack doesn't have to worry about his own life. But to be honest, the guy was embarrassed by the number of participants. To take the test, a participant must be 24 years of age or younger. Among the participants, some were unable to enter university after awakening, while some, like Jack, used other means of awakening and dared to take the path of a rune master. This means there are no weaklings here. But most of all, our hero was worried about the age difference. After all, most of the participants were already 24 years old, which means that they had been training for 60 years more than he did. When suddenly, several shuttles from different universities arrived at the port. Meet Mr. An, the chief examiner of the test, a rank A rune master, profession, archer. It is his voice that will be decisive in case of ambiguous situations. And this is his deputy, Mr. Shin, also a rune master of rank A, profession, scout. Every year, An hopes that he will find an outstanding talent in this test. As it was 10 years ago, one of the participants was able to become a master of the S-rank runes. But Shin had no such illusions. He considered the participants in this test to be scum, who lacked the strength to pass the entrance exams. The intelligence officer considered the very fact of conducting this test to be a waste of resources. But Anya agreed with them, even though there had not been a single outstanding participant in the last 10 years. The man believes that some people need to be given a second chance to prove themselves. When suddenly their not very pleasant conversation was interrupted by the secretary. All preparations have been completed, and the test is about to begin. As you may have noticed, Shin and An don't like each other very much, not only because of their different views on this test, but also because Shin used to be the chief examiner. "Deputy Shin, will you also be speaking at the dedication ceremony?" one of the aides asked, laughing. "If you call me deputy again, I'll rip your head off," the man replied angrily. But then one of the scientists came running in a panic and shouted, "Deputy Shin, we have discovered strange data around the island." Knocking a stack of documents out of the scientist's hands, Shin responded angrily, "I won't repeat it. Whoever calls me deputy will lose his head." "Tell me, what is this strange data?" the man asked, calming down. The magnetic field around the island has just changed, and thunderstorms have become more intense. However, Shin did not see anything strange in this, because the magnetic field around the island was never normal. And yet, scientists recommended postponing the tests. The scout was categorically against it. He didn't want to waste his precious time on a bunch of losers. In general, despite the warning, Shin ordered to continue work as usual. To be honest, The man was only happy about this change in the magnetic field. He believed that a more aggressive environment would be able to identify truly worthy candidates. Let's be honest, even if more participants die due to the changed magnetic field, he won't care. As darkness fell, the oath ceremony began. The beginning of the ceremony is one of the most exciting moments. Before the start, mister, and came down to the participants, right from behind his shuttle. The man jumped from a great height and landed calmly without a single scratch, which greatly impressed the participants. Good evening. Welcome to the test. I am your chief examiner, Mr. An. I am an active A-rank rune master. As you may have already realized, I will be evaluating you. While An was giving a ceremonial speech, Jack decided to try out the hunter's glasses on him. But all the characteristics were classified. Most likely, the analysis failed due to the huge difference in strength, when suddenly, right in the middle of the chief examiner's speech, Shin jumped from the shuttle. Brazenly interrupting his colleague, the man shouted, "You are all losers and scum. I am your examiner, Mr. Shin." Of course, the participants didn't particularly like his words. People started whispering about how Shin had previously been the chief examiner and how he was bullying everyone. Our hero found the man quite unpleasant. Shin acted as if he was asking for a fight. The longer the scout spoke, the more insults were directed at the participants. When suddenly An stopped him. "Deputy Shin, that's enough." Of course, this whole situation really hurt his ego, but he couldn't contradict Mr. An. Taking control, the man said, "Not everyone can become a Master Rom, so this means that you guys are better than 80% of the people in the world. As the chief examiner, I am proud of your fighting spirit." It's funny how two seemingly similar people have different attitudes towards the same event. Even though all the participants were already familiar with the rules of the test, An was obliged to repeat them. Many of you failed the entrance exam because of your weak talent. But believe me, to become an outstanding rune master, you need hard work, not talent. The ministry is testing you to give you a chance. If you want to prove yourself, you need to be brave, courageous, and willing to risk your life. And even though the badge can protect you, deaths are rare, so you need to be smart and careful. When the test begins, you will all be dropped off the shuttle at a random island location. You are not allowed to take anything with you except the equipment you are allowed, especially food and water. You need to figure this out as soon as you land. Also, lightning strikes are very dangerous. The safe zone will become smaller and smaller, so don't think about hiding in one place for 3 days. If you find yourself in a thunderstorm zone, be careful. Once on the island, participants can eliminate each other or kill animals to get points. The final score and overall performance will decide whether the participant will be selected to the university or not. This year, there are 2,951 participants, but there are only 90 places in 18 universities. This means that only 3% of all will reach the target. But this does not mean that all 90 places will be taken. After bringing all the participants up to speed, An wished them good luck, after which the men returned to the shuttle using runic wings. Jack was delighted with what he saw, because the skill of runic wings is available only to the strongest masters. When suddenly Shin said, "In the trial version of the test, there can be no more than 5 people in a team. So you, who have teamed up or decided to go alone, can enter the shuttle. And those who don't have a team or want to find teammates, gather in the registration area, which is managed by one of my subordinates." If Jack encountered a rival crew on the island, he would be at a disadvantage and an easy target. So he was going to find the crew, especially since the Firefox advised him to do so. Unfortunately, there were few promising private owners in the registration area. All the rune masters who represent at least something serious have already united into teams. The choice is, of course, so-so, but it will still be better than going through the tests alone. Our hero's attention was drawn to a guy named Patrick, who was desperately trying to find a team for himself. But whoever he approached, he always heard a refusal. After a dozen refusals, Patrick suggested that Jack create a team. But before rejecting it, our hero decided to find out its characteristics. Despite his goofy appearance, Patrick had very high strength and physique indicators, which surpassed even Jack. But his dexterity and wisdom are worse than even those of an ordinary person. If you think about it, Patrick can take hits and act as bait, giving Jack an opportunity to attack. For most he may be, but for our hero, he is the perfect partner. Anyway, Jack agreed to cooperate with Patrick. Now there are 3 more to find. When suddenly the guy grabbed our hero's hand, and with tears in his eyes, he whispered, "Thank you very much. You are the only one who agreed to become my partner." "Thank you, by the way. My name is Jack Bullet. I'm Sniper," our hero answered, laughing. But then the girl who had just rejected Patrick would intervene in their conversation. "Why did you take him into the team? You'll lose." And in response, Jack just looked at her with a slight smile. Trying to find 3 more partners, Patrick and Jack turned to the administrator. Having looked at the guy's personal files, the administrator, smiling, said, "Guys, no offense, but you are very weak. It is unlikely that anyone will want to join you." "Who are you calling a weakling?" Patrick shouted angrily. "Calm down," Jack replied. From the conversations of those around him, our hero learned that the administrator is a student of one of the universities, which is why he communicates so brazenly with the participants of the test. Plus, he is one of the students of the examiner Shin. This guy considered himself elite, and everyone around him trash. And during the paperwork, he deliberately mocked Patrick as much as he could. Registration time is limited, and those who do not make it will be forced to fight alone. When suddenly this guy crossed all boundaries, he hit Patrick in the face, supposedly for ruining the form. Patrick is a kind and cheerful guy by nature, but if you make him angry, everything can end badly. And that's the moment when the guy was a second away from beating up the administrator. Jack stopped him, saying that this would not change anything, but would only make things worse for himself. But the story didn't end there. The administrator started smoking and stopped accepting applications. Beating him up wasn't the best idea, but leaving things as they were wasn't an option either. So Jack decided to come up with a sophisticated plan. This idiot didn't hide that he was delaying the registration on purpose. He said openly that he liked how everyone was angry with him, but couldn't do anything about it. But his sense of security was only an illusion. Not wanting to tolerate such a lousy attitude towards himself and other participants, our hero took an empty barrel and put it right on the administrator, thereby making him look like an idiot. But he didn't stop there. Jack invited everyone who wanted to beat him up, and you can be sure that there were many who wanted to. A couple of minutes later, the administrator finally managed to free himself. "I'll throw the barrel off myself," the guy shouted in anger. "How dare you touch me? I'll disqualify you all." But instead of a crowd of participants, the chief examiner, An, stood in front of the administrator. After hearing this guy accuse the participants, the men asked for evidence. After thinking for a bit, the administrator said that there were surveillance cameras here that should have recorded everything. Trying to avoid trouble, An said, "I understand that on the recording I will see not only how you are beaten, but also how you talk to the participants, right? Since I can't punish the members now, I'm transferring you to the northern group to avoid any trouble later," the man added. Noticing the examiner's intense gaze on him, Jack thought that now he would be in big trouble. Of course, An knew what happened here. He wanted to punish the administrator to encourage the participants. As he was leaving, the man patted our hero on the shoulder and whispered, "You are calm and smart. I hope you will pass the test with flying colors." "Participants, I wish you all good luck," Anya added loudly. To be honest, Jack didn't expect the chief examiner to praise him for inciting the participants to revolt. However, it is good that the person who decides everything now knows about our hero. This gives a small advantage. However, the boys still had one problem. There were still 2 of them, which was not enough to pass the test. After Jack was personally praised by Mr. An, there were many people who wanted to join their team. But there were also those who offered Jack to join the already created team. Of course, now our hero is a tasty morsel for any team. Now we need to act carefully to increase our chances of success. Patrick, without hesitation, suggested taking from the strongest. The guy was sure that strength decides everything, and he was partly right. The strongest participants had long since united into teams. A normal team has 5 rune masters who can handle any situation. So, the team needs a leader who can command and make timely decisions. A strategist who can figure everything out and make a plan. A melee fighter, a long-range marksman, a scout, and a healer. But in the current situation, forming an ideal team is very problematic. Now the priority was close combat fighters and strategies, but the most important thing was that they were reliable. After thinking for a moment, Patrick said, "Jack, I can be a strategist. Self-confidence is of course good, but you need to soberly assess your strengths. In general, Our hero politely explained to the guy that he would be playing exclusively the role of a tank, when suddenly, our hero's attention was drawn to one unremarkable guy. And if you believe the hunter's glasses, this guy has a very high wisdom indicator. In short, he is the perfect candidate for the role of strategist. And seeing that he was sleeping, Jack realized that he had no commands. So he wanted to recruit him. Coming closer, Patrick noticed that the guy had some kind of strange metal box on his back. "Don't touch. There's a weapon there," the guy said rudely. "I'm sorry we woke you up, but would you like to join us?" Jack asked with a smile. "My name is Tan. I am a master of runes of the F rank. My profession is a mechanic," the guy added sadly. "The thing is, there is a saying. Elite masters look down on ordinary rune masters. Melee rune masters look down on ranged rune masters. And all rune masters look down on mechanics. Mechanics and rune masters differ in weapon making. Mechanics use rune stones as a source to create mechanical weapons. The destructive power of these weapons is not stronger than weapons made from runestones, but even normal people can use them. Tan is very different from all the masters. After all, he decided to make all of humanity stronger, not himself. In general, despite all the disadvantages of the mechanic profession, Jack wanted Tan to join their team, and this decision raised a lot of questions for Patrick. After all, there are many strong rune masters around who want to join them. To the guy's displeasure, Jack responded, "Patrick, do you know who designed and built the city's protective barrier and the runes and cannons on the city wall? The mechanics. In addition, the rules forbid ordinary rune masters to bring ordinary mechanical weapons to the island, with the exception of mechanics. Taking Tan with you is like having a mobile weapons depot." Overall, Jack was able to convince Patrick and change his attitude towards mechanics. But our hero's desire alone is not enough. Tan also needs to want to join them. But to be honest, the guy didn't really have much of a choice. He, like everyone else, wanted to go to university, but no one wanted to deal with him. So the guy happily accepted Jack's offer. From now until the end of the test, they are a team. At first glance, Tan looked like he could be trusted, but it will only be possible to find out whether Jack made the right choice on the island. This leaves 2 spots left on their team. There were still many applicants, so it was possible to choose the best candidates. After a short interview, Jack settled on 2 candidates. Let's just say Patrick didn't like them much. The guy judged the rune masters only by their appearance, and the guys chosen by our heroes were very modest in appearance. Meet Lulu the archer and Zhong the swordsman. Jack chose them for several reasons. First, all of their characteristics are at a very decent level. And second, Zhong and Lulu are from the same city and know each other well. It was hard to trust all the guys unconditionally, but our hero had no other option. Once the team was formed, Jack introduced the guys to each other and gave a heartfelt speech about how important a team is. They all looked like a real team, ready to work towards a common goal. Meanwhile, in the city, the university entrance exam will take place at the same time as the storm test, and Arena spent all her free time on training to show her best. From the news, she learned that this year almost 3,000 people will take part in the Buri tests, and you can be sure that the girl was following the news for a reason. The thing is that one of her relatives is also participating in the trial, when suddenly, during the report, she saw Jack and was very surprised. But then she realized that because of his unusual way of waking up, he can't take the entrance exam. So in order to enter the university, he has to participate in the storm trial. But the surprises didn't end there. Her relative who was taking part in the test was Tan. Overall, Arena was incredibly happy that Jack and Tan had teamed up. As dawn approached, all participants began to be loaded into shuttles. The test is considered to have begun exactly at the moment when the participants touch the Earth. In total, they will have to hold out for 3 days. The atmosphere inside the shuttles was very tense. All participants were noticeably nervous, and some of the guys decided to start the battle right inside the ship. Of course, physical violence before the test is strictly prohibited, but no one forbade moral pressure. So one guy from the opposing team said, "Hey, fat guy, you have to jump last." Patrick, sweating, replied in a trembling voice, "Why do you say that?" Laughing loudly, the guy added, "This way we can kill you and get some points." Of course, Patrick was scared, so he couldn't answer them. But fortunately, he is not alone. She has a team that will not let anyone harm him. Taking a huge grenade launcher out of his suitcase, Tan said with a smile. Since you are so cool, let's jump together. Frightened, these guys shouted, We are not allowed to take weapons with us. Idiots! I'm a mechanic. This grenade launcher is my own design, and you can take them. Tan answered with a smile. Anyway, these two idiots quickly shut their mouths. After all, Patrick thanked the guy for his help, and Jack asked him to tell him what else he had. And to be honest, the arsenal was impressive. Gatling gun, grenade launcher, and self-destruct drone gun. With such an arsenal, it will not be difficult to take a leading place in the test. The main thing is to use it correctly. After some time, the guys finally reached the storm island and found themselves in the epicenter of the thunderstorm. As it turns out, Lulu is very afraid of lightning, and in such a test, this can be a huge problem. Fortunately, Zhong was next to her, who calmed her down. Due to constant thunderstorms, this island is completely isolated from the inner world. Because of this, people were forced to leave these lands. But there is a good thing. The local monsters remain on the island. Due to limited access, all monsters here are below rank F. After a few more minutes, all participants were asked to prepare for landing. The best option was to jump out of the shuttle as soon as the hatch opened, to find ourselves near the coastline. And when it was time to jump, Patrick realized that he was afraid of heights. Jack noticed this in time and, so to speak, helped him take the first step. Already now, we need to be extremely careful. At any moment, someone can attack. Although formally, the test begins as soon as the participants touch the ground, the attack can begin already in the air. At first glance, the island looked quite ordinary. Some buildings, beautiful landscapes, and no storm clouds. What he saw reminded Jack of his travels in the wild, when suddenly, Zhong shouted, Leader, where are we landing? Without thinking twice, our hero ordered his team to land on the bridge. The island consists of two parts, and is connected by two bridges. Taking control of one of the bridges can give a big advantage throughout the trial. The choice of landing location increased Jack's reputation in the eyes of the crew, because his choice was very wise. When suddenly, something rushed past our heroes at great speed, leaving only a few feathers. Seeing this, Jack shouted, Be careful, there is a beast made of runestone here. Now the guys are in a very vulnerable position. Being in the air, they cannot defend themselves with full force. When suddenly the beast grabbed Lulu by the parachute. Realizing that he had to act quickly, Jack called upon the god of death. It was incredibly difficult to aim in the air, but Jack was able to collect his thoughts and shoot the monster right in the neck, after which the beast let the girl go, but it was too early to rejoice. With its sharp claws, the golden-finned eagle tore Lulu's parachute. The only option to save her is to team up and use the intact parachute, but the girl is too far away from them to do this. When suddenly Tan shouted, Everyone listen to me, fall on each other. The guy was going to push them so they could catch up with Lulu. Taking advantage of Patrick's explosive power, they began to push each other in a chain, approaching the girl. Luckily, Tan's plan turned out to be excellent, and within seconds, Jack was next to Lulu. The parachute opened, but due to the strong overweight, the guys were carried away from the initial landing point, and they fell right into a dense grove. Luckily, Lulu was not seriously injured. She only lost consciousness. After a couple of minutes, she came back to normal. This is the second time Jack saved her. The fact that they were able to survive is already good, but now they have a new problem. Having cut off the parachute, they descended to the ground and began to look around. There was no one around, and there was no connection with the team either. Jack decided to stick to the original plan. He was sure that the guys would be waiting for them on the bridge. Meanwhile, the ship with examiners reached the observation lines. An watched all the promising participants closely, when suddenly, an unexpected guest arrived to visit them, one of the recruiters from Dao University. The old man wanted to know if there were any talented participants this year, to which Shin replied, Sir, as always, complete trash. Shin, you're not the boss this year, precisely because of this attitude towards the participants. The girl from the university, Chi Yao, suddenly said. The purpose of the test is to give excellent rune masters another chance to enter the university, but you have always been against it, added the girl. But in response, Shin only looked at her silently. After putting the man in his place, the girl asked Examiner An what he thought of this year's contestants. She asked him about this because she knew that An had studied the information about all the participants and had made some conclusions. His opinion was very authoritative. After thinking for a bit, the man said, This year the participants are stronger than before, but there is one who caught my attention more than anyone else. University recruits were very interested in this. The guy's name is Tang Yu, but he's a mechanic, whispered An. The recruit was concerned that the mechanic might perform poorly in the test. Hearing the man's skeptical words, Shin added, "Our enemies are rune beasts. Mechanics cannot defeat them alone, so they shouldn't be called rune masters at all." Immediately after these words, the girl from Chiyao University began to actively type something. She partly agreed that mechanics weren't the best fighters, but she still decided to test the guy. The only information she found was that he was a member of Team 537, and that's it. To be honest, the girl was very surprised that one of the participants decided to take a mechanic into the team. Next, she decided to look up information about his team, and she checked Jack first. Imagine her surprise when she learned that our hero's runic spirit was only 27%. She immediately realized that Jack had awakened thanks to the medicine. Noticing the girl's surprised face, the recruit from Dao University also wanted to take a look at the guy's personal files, but since they represent different universities, the girl did not allow him to do this. Previously, their universities cooperated, but after some misunderstandings, they became enemies. So everyone wants to get worthy students. While the recruits and examiners discussed the participants, the regular staff monitored the situation on the island, when suddenly, our hero appeared on the screen. Noticing him, one of the observers called over his friend from school and said, "Is this the guy leading the show who got you into trouble?" "Yes, it's him. Looks like he lost his team." "Excellent," the administrator replied. "If the data is to be believed, Jack and Lulu are about to meet Team 102. You can be sure that Team 102 is one of the best in this challenge. Last year, they also took part in the test. They were only a few points short of admission. And this year, they are the main contenders for admission. And their captain, who hails from the same city as the administrator, is the only member whose strength is almost equal to an E-rank master. In general, an exciting show awaits us now." Meanwhile, our heroes had already gotten out of the jungle and came to an abandoned school. But there was still no contact with the team. The team radios only work at 500 meters. Without communication, it will be almost impossible to find the team. After thinking for a bit, the guy decided to take a short break and catch his breath. For killing the golden-finned eagle, Jack was awarded 1 point. You can earn points in several ways. First, by killing monsters, and second, by eliminating other participants. After a short break, our heroes wanted to go up to the roof to look around. The only way to do this was to use the side stairs. On one of the floors, the guys came across a couple of skeletons. Judging by their clothes, these were last year's participants. Noticing Lulu's composure, Jack realized that her mental stability was better than his. Having climbed onto the roof, the guys began to look around, when suddenly the girl screamed, "Leader, Zhang and the others were supposed to land there." But then Jack grabbed her by the shoulder and pushed her to the floor. "Quiet! There are several parachutes on the other end of the roof. They are most likely still here. We need to stay here and wait for the guys. We need a plan. There are 2 water towers here with high vantage points. And since we are both snipers, we can claim the high ground and eliminate them at the right moment." Jack answered. Having taken advantageous positions, our hero and Lulu began to wait. For a couple of minutes, nothing happened, and then he decided to activate the snake eye. With the help of this skill, finding enemies is a matter of seconds. There were 3 people on the top floor and 2 more on the floor below. Meanwhile, Team 102 walked carelessly around what they thought was a captured school. The thing is that this school building is a bridge between the 2 parts of the island, so by capturing it, Team 102 gained complete control over the territory. In general, they had exactly the same plan as our hero's team, when suddenly one of the guys noticed something interesting. In the forest near the school, a parachute is hanging from the trees. I understand that there is someone nearby. The guys wanted to tell others about the find, but then a shot rang out, and at that moment, one of the guys was writhing in intense pain, and his badge activated the rescue pillow. The second guy immediately realized that it was an ambush. Now that our heroes had given away their location, they couldn't just let the second guy go. So Lulu immediately opened fire. But the guy quickly figured out where the fire was coming from and activated his protective barrier. Now it is clear why their team is considered the main contenders. Not everyone is capable of finding the enemy's position and reacting so quickly. After the failure, Lulu quickly reported it to Jack. I accepted. I have him at gunpoint. This time he won't escape, our hero replied. The guy took aim and pulled the trigger. God of Death broke through the weak barrier of F rank on the first try, after which the second guy's token also released a life-saving cushion. 2 guys from Team 102 dropped out. After seeing all this, Lulu realized that Jack was much stronger than he seemed at first glance, and she also wondered if he had a girlfriend. But now is not the time to think about it. There are 3 more people at school. The sounds of gunshots made the remaining members of Team 102 nervous. In addition, the captain lost contact with 2 of his guys. The guys were sure that their opponent was an elite team of 5 people. Realizing that they were now at a disadvantage, the group's leader, Satori, asked a sniper from behind his group to conduct reconnaissance. This girl, just like Jack, had the snake eye skill. Having looked around the area, the sniper said, "Satori, I only see 2. What? Did they really dare to attack us both?" The guy whispered in surprise. The school was a strategic location, so Satori didn't want to retreat. Instead, he wanted to set up an ambush on the upper floor and eliminate the enemy. With her strong sense of smell, Lulu sensed the enemy approaching. Suddenly, Jack said, "Don't worry. Do you have any skill?" The girl had a rune of cold blood. Once activated, the user's thermal signature disappears, allowing them to remain undetected by thermal sensors for 5 seconds. This skill is perfect for survival and for the current situation. Jack knew how to use it properly. Meanwhile, Team 102 had already reached the top floor and started the hunt. Satori and the tank took a defensive position, while their sniper is reloading his snake eye. After waiting for a while, the girl was ready to activate the skill again. In the conditions of the storm test, snake eye is almost an ideal skill. With its help, you can detect the enemy in time or track him down. Upon spotting Jack and Lulu, Sniper said, "Satori, they're 20 meters away. Behind the air conditioner." Without delay, not a second, the guy went on the attack. His profession as a fencer gave him a huge advantage in close combat. In addition, he possessed a very powerful rune, Mountain Destroyer, which increased the destructive power of his attacks several times. But this time he missed. However, with his unexpected appearance, the guy forced Jack to leave the shelter. "Fool! It's too late for you to escape from me," Satori cried out joyfully when he saw his enemy running away. Meanwhile, the tank tried to find Lulu, but to no avail. After examining everything again, the sniper screamed, "Guys, I can't find the second one." "Got it! It's a trap, be careful!" Satori shouted back, but it was too late. Lulu snuck up from behind and caught the enemy sniper off guard. -1 more. Now we can say that the forces are equal. First of all, Satori wanted to deal with Jack because he knew that he was a sniper and did not want to give him the opportunity to take advantageous positions for shooting. By the way, for eliminating the enemy sniper, Lulu received her first point. Seeing that our hero was being chased, the girl opened fire, but the enemy tank quickly reacted and blocked all her shots. As expected, Jack was far behind Satori in agility, so the guy caught up with him quite quickly. But our hero did not give up hope of hiding. At least he pretended to. All textbooks say that sniper is inferior to any profession in close combat except for mechanic. But everyone forgets to mention that in the end, it all depends on the individual. Yes, Jack is not as agile as Satori, and he has nothing for close combat, besides his innate ingenuity. Having found a piece of an old pipe, our hero used it as a bat. At first, Satori considered this attack a pathetic attempt to save himself. However, this feeling was deceptive. When he felt that with this blow Jack threw him beyond the roof, he quickly realized that he had lost. Satori is falling like a stone and has no chance of survival, which means the airbag will definitely work. Seeing his last ally go out, the tank understands that now he is on his own. Besides, even Lulu's rune bullets can't penetrate his defense. The guy inserted the rune into his shield, creating an aura of the Taurus constellation around himself. Instead of improving his defensive abilities, the guy acquired an attack skill, just for such a case. When activated, Taurus grants its owner all-round protection, and when colliding with any object, it deals destructive damage to it. And so it happened. With a quick jerk, the tank closed the distance and hit the girl with its shield. Seeing this, Jack realized that if he did nothing, Lulu would drop out of the test. Who would have thought that an inconspicuous tank would turn out to be the most serious opponent? Now that the main threat was eliminated, the guy had time to think, and seeing Lulu's abandoned rifle, The plan itself appeared in his head. Pointing her own rifle at the girl's head, the guy said, "Did you think you could destroy my entire team so easily? You overestimated yourself too much. I heard that for a sniper there is no greater humiliation than being killed by his own weapon. But you are lucky. You will live, but forget about the test," the guy added with a terrible smile. He was so engrossed in meaningless conversation that he didn't notice Jack sneaking up behind him. With the very first blow, our hero knocked out his jaw. This gave our heroes a few seconds to make a decision, and instead of finishing what he started, Jack decided to retreat. But there was one small problem. Because of the strong blow of the calf, Lulu could not move. Anyway, while the tank was temporarily out of the game, Jack grabbed the girl on his back and started running. This time, they were very lucky. They were able to eliminate 4 strong participants and still remain in the challenge. Luckily, the tank's agility was quite low, so hiding from it was easy as pie. But despite this, the guy promised to avenge his friends. The situation is actually quite complicated. They are safe now. Lulu has lost her weapon, and the enemy's defense exceeds their combat power. So it is now impossible to knock the tank out of the game. The only right decision in this situation seemed to Jack to be to hide and wait for the others to arrive. When suddenly a voice rang out, "Are you really leaving already?" And I thought the party was just beginning. At that moment, our heroes' faces showed genuine surprise. After all, Satori was standing in front of them. "You have such eyes as if you saw a ghost. Did you really think that it would be so easy to knock me out?" the guy said, smiling. Lulu understood that they didn't have a single chance because they were both snipers, and only Jack had that weapon, and Satori was a swordsman. But then our hero did something unexpected. He suggested that they join forces in Satori. This proposal made the guy laugh. After all, only a madman would propose a union after what happened. But this was just a feint. While Jack was talking to Satori, he quietly handed Lulu a rune. Not knowing what it was for, the girl took it and began to run at full speed towards the exit, and Jack took out his blade, which he got from the firefox. "You fool! You can't escape from me," Satori shouted through wild laughter, after which, with a mad cry, he pounced on Jack. Any sane person will tell you that our hero doesn't have a single chance. Well, here's the thing. Thanks to the system, Jack was able to pump up his strength to the level of a fencer. And thanks to the improved hunter's glasses, he knew that his power was superior to Satori's. Of course, the guy has much more experience in close combat and various sword techniques, but even this is unlikely to be enough to cover the difference in their characteristics. With one powerful blow, Jack knocked the sword out of the guy's hands. Of course, Satori couldn't understand it. How could a normal sniper defeat him in close combat? Realizing that everything was not going according to plan, the guy decided to play his last trump card. We've already seen one of his skills, Mountain Destroyer, but he has another, more powerful skill that he wanted to save for a special occasion, when suddenly, a shot rang out. And a moment later, Satori was already lying on the floor, completely covered in a life-saving pillow. Remember that rune stone that our hero gave to Lulu? If you were paying attention, this rune was red. As you remember, red runes are weapon runes. Simply put, Jack gave the girl the god of death. I must admit, our hero and Lulu worked well together. They even began to understand each other without words. Unfortunately, the cutting blade could not withstand the collision with the professional sword of a fencer, which is generally not surprising, because weapons made from runestone are much stronger than regular weapons filled with runic energy. At some point, Jack began to go over the rules of the storm test in his head. And you know what? There was nothing there about not taking other participants' weapons. Having defeated Satori, our hero took his sword as a trophy. While the boy was looking at his new toy, Lulu picked up the fallen rune. After which, she said, "Captain, he wanted to insert it before I shot." After examining the stone, Jack learned that this rune gave a 200% increase to attack power. When suddenly Lulu said, "Your weapon is too strong. I spent all my energy for one shot. Unfortunately, I will not be able to fight for some time. I feel the tank approaching. We need to leave as quickly as possible," the girl added excitedly. Jack smiled and replied, "But there is no need. I will deal with him." "Are you crazy? He'll run over us like a bulldozer," the girl said, confused. "Don't worry. He won't be able to lay a finger on us," our hero answered with full confidence. Meanwhile, the tank was slowly but surely approaching them. His anger reached the point that he was ready to sacrifice his own participation in the test, in order to knock out Jack. After a long search, he finally found them, just at the moment when our hero was helping Lulu. Seeing the girl breathing heavily, the tank shouted, "You're finished. You can't do anything to me alone." Completely ignoring the guy, Jack sat Lulu down on the floor and asked her not to interfere under any circumstances. 10 minutes ago, our hero would not have dared to go one-on-one against a tank, but now, with the new Rune Masters of rank E and below are not his opponents. Jack had proven his strength more than once, so she trusted him completely. The tank was completely confident of its victory, which is not surprising, since his shield is made from the incredibly rare steel turtle shell. "Before I kick your ass, do you have something to say?" Jack asked mockingly. Unable to bear such impudence, the guy went on the attack with a mad cry. Our hero calmly inserted the rune into the sword and prepared for one of the most interesting battles of his life. Tank planned to knock the guy out with the first blow, but Jack simply blocked it. The sword and the Satori rune opened up a whole sea of new possibilities for our hero. Feeling incredible, powerful resistance, the tank became confused and didn't know what to do, and Jack saw it in his eyes. Taking advantage of the moment, our hero decided to counterattack with full force, but he underestimated his opponent. The tank managed to react and put up a shield. However, the blow was so powerful that the huge 200-kilogram guy flew back 10 meters. The tank was shocked. Jack was the first person he had ever fought who was able to overcome his defense. Despite all this, our hero looked like he was just playing with his opponent. Lulu didn't understand how, even though he was a sniper, he fought at the level of an F-rank swordsman. It's very simple. Even at the academy, Jack realized that engaging in close combat for a sniper is tantamount to death. So he diligently trained his strength and endurance for close combat, so as not to be at a disadvantage when he is forced to fight. Feeling his superiority, our hero went on the attack, delivering powerful slashing attacks one after another. You fight one-on-one. The tank understood why Satori lost, when suddenly the tank screamed, "So what? The fact that your strength is the same as mine doesn't change anything. You still can't take my shield." And in this, the tank was right. His shield is a rare artifact of E rank. It is impossible to destroy such armor with a regular rune sword, but Jack had a little surprise for him. A power-boosting rune stone. Seeing this stone, the tank shouted, "You are a thief! This is the Satori stone. We knew something like this could happen. So I have a rune that can counter yours." By inserting a rune stone into the titanium armor, the tank temporarily increased its defense by 200%. After which Jack said with a smile, "Sorry to upset you, but you were wrong again. And you attack, and we'll see which of us was wrong," the tank replied. And here, Jack's excess runic spirit makes the difference. As you remember, all excess rune spirit is redirected into skill power. In other words, the increase in power from the rune stone was not 200%, but 212. And this difference was more than enough to destroy the tank's shield and throw it out of the test. After the tank's airbag deployed, Lulu screamed, "You really did it." "Yeah, but this stone takes too much energy." "I have absolutely no strength left," Jack replied, turning pale. Now all that's left to do is hope that they don't run into anyone else, at least for a while. Otherwise, they'll be in big trouble. Just at that moment, the command radios began to pick up some kind of signal, and this first of all means that their team is already close and approaching. When the radio signal stabilized, Lulu said that she and Jack were on the second floor of the school waiting for them. A couple of minutes later, the team was back together. Having met Jack and Lulu, Patrick happily said, "Thank God you are all right, and we encountered a rune beast in the forest. We worked like professionals and killed him. Now we each have half a point." But then the guys noticed two participants whose airbags are fucking activated. Seeing this, Zhang whispered with a trembling voice, "What happened here?" "Well, we weren't sitting idle either. We destroyed the whole team. Now I have 2 points," Lulu answered happily. "What? The whole team? Just the 2 of you?" Zhang shouted in surprise. "Yes, but to be honest, the captain did almost everything," the girl added, embarrassed. Having learned about this, the children became interested in how many points our hero had earned. Jack, a little embarrassed, said, "Not that many, only 4. Seeing the guys' sad faces, the guy continued, "Don't be sad. We've only just started. There are still 2 days ahead. Moreover, they now control one of the most important areas on the island. So the boys have regained their enthusiasm. They can easily set up an ambush and get the desired points. When suddenly the room was filled with a quiet but distinct sound of a stomach rumbling. Embarrassed, Jack said, "Let's have lunch." Meanwhile, on the examiner's shuttle, after the battle with Team 102, our hero attracted the attention of the recruits. It was too early to talk about anything, since he didn't even make it into the top 10, but his team took a tactically important place. In general, now there is more attention to it than before. The first day of the test is almost over, and up until this point, everything has gone well. When suddenly, the seismic instruments began to give errors. After checking everything, the scientists noticed that the island's magnetic field began to fluctuate. Similar fluctuations have occurred on this island before, just shortly before the discovery of cosmic wormholes. The next day in the city, Alice and Dean were taking the first stage of the entrance exam, and Sam, as a loving father, decided to support his daughter and her friend. Seeing the guys running out of the university, the man joyfully shouted, "Well, how did the virtual battle exam go?" But the guys simply ignored the man and continued running. This behavior of the children left Sam stupefied. He did not understand what was happening. Trying to find out at least something, he shouted, "What the hell? Where are you running?" "Dad, not now. Turn on the live broadcast of the storm trial." The girl screamed in horror. Where were Alice and Dean running to? To Jack's house. Scarlet was watching the broadcast of the challenge when unexpected guests appeared. Seeing Alice, the girl asked in surprise, "What are you doing here?" "Baby, have you seen your brother yet or not?" Alice asked worriedly. "No," Scarlet answered calmly. By this point, the island's safe zone has already shrunk by half, and by the end of the test, it will be the size of a football field. Alice had some strange, bad feeling, so she ran to Scarlet in the hope of finding out at least something. But then Sam walked in the door and said loudly, "I asked my friends to find out something about our guy. He is the leader of team number 537, and now they have taken a very advantageous position." With a sigh of relief, Dean asked, "Uncle, is it true that there will be a more detailed broadcast?" "That's right. On the third day of the competition, we'll be able to choose any team and follow them," Sam replied. "Jack is really brave. If it were me, I would accept my fate," Dean whispered sadly. "Don't be so hard on yourself. Jack is driven by hatred. With its power, he is like a locomotive. He will stop at nothing." Trying to calm the guy down, the man continued. Alice knew exactly what her father was talking about. Our hero's parents were killed by a Rune beast, and Scarlet became disabled. It is this feeling of hatred towards monsters that makes Jack who he is. When suddenly the TV started showing the best moments of the test, and Scarlet saw her brother on them. She prayed that everything would be okay with her brother. Meanwhile, our heroes had dinner. Zhang and Tang brought a wild boar, which they then cooked. While they were eating, Patrick and Jack were on watch. After some time, they switched so that the boys could also eat. Lulu missed the entrance exam that year due to a car accident and spent the entire year traveling with a team of mercenaries. When everyone had had dinner, the girl came up to Jack and asked, "Listen, how did you become so strong?" "Training. But now something else is important. In total, we defeated 24 people," Dash answered our hero. This result is one of the best among all participants. According to Tan's calculations, due to the narrowing of the safe zone, this bridge became the only way, as they had planned. Thanks to this, each team member was able to earn quite a lot of challenge points. There was no cover on the bridge, and participants crossing it became living targets. But escaping from the expanding danger zone, they had no other way. Even though everything was fine with them now, they were pretty tired. Being on duty at the bridge around the clock is not that easy. Lola has now taken over the watch so that the rest of the team can rest. They developed a special system that required 2 people on duty, 1 sniper and 1 close combat fighter. If the shooter misses someone, the close combat fighter will deal with him. When suddenly, something unusual caught Tan's attention. The list of top 10 participants appeared in the sky. At the end of the first day, Jack is in 10th place on the list, 38 points behind first place. The top 3 contenders for university this year are considered to be the real madmen, and judging by the points they have earned, it is not just like that. But the top 10 listing is not everything. This year we have a new feature called headhunting. A participant in the top 10 will be randomly selected as a target, and their location will be revealed to all participants. Anyone who destroys the target will receive all the points of the target, and their team members will receive 10 times the points they earned during the challenge period. In fact, bounty hunting is an ideal opportunity for both the target and others to earn points. But let's be honest, whoever is labeled as the target will be at the most disadvantage. Realizing that he was at risk, Jack laughed and said, "This will be interesting." And guess what? At this time, the report began. The bounty hunt began. First target, Jack Bullet, hunting time 1 hour. Seeing this, Patrick screamed hysterically, "Are you kidding me? How can this be?" Realizing that because of him the team was in danger, Jack laughed awkwardly and apologized to the guys. Anyone would think they were in a terrible situation. But then Tan said, "Guys, it's not all that bad, but I have 2 pieces of news. One good, one bad." "Don't delay, come on, with good news," Lulu shouted. "Using this bridge as our base of defense, we can set up traps and ambush anyone who comes here," the guy replied with a smile. "That sounds good. So what's the bad news?" Zhang asked over the radio. "Now that everyone knows that we are defending this bridge, no one will cross it anymore." But anyway, the bridge was always a temporary plan. Once they notice all the protective capsules on the bridge, people will realize it's dangerous and try to avoid it, Tan replied. But Patrick had a feeling that both of these were bad news. Benefit and risk always exist together. With their speed, even if they survive to the end, they may not have enough points to enter the desired university. And the fact that Jack became a target in headhunting is the perfect chance for them to earn as many points as possible. It's not that bad, really. If they approach things wisely, they can get through this hour and earn a ton of points. But first, it was necessary to set traps. After thinking for a moment, Jack left Lulu on the hill to watch the area while Patrick and Zhang accompanied Tan. Having heard the plan, everyone began to do their duties, and the girl asked what our hero would do. The boy came up with the most important task for himself. He wanted to lure several rune beasts so that they would walk around the school's outskirts. In short, he was going to make monsters his own security. A few minutes later, the first team wishing to get additional women was already near the school. Before going on the assault, this team came up with a plan and scouted out the situation. Seeing dozens of exploded emergency capsules on the bridge, they understood exactly how our hero got into the top 10. When suddenly, 2 guys from the team said, "Captain, we are far behind you and the others in points. Can we eliminate him? I am pleased with your attitude, but do not rush. Take a high point and watch while we get closer," the captain replied. Since they are facing a team led by a very strong captain, they need to act with extreme caution. Having approached the northern wall of the school, the captain saw many activated emergency airbags and realized that traps were set there. And despite this, they decided to move on. When suddenly one of the guys felt like he had stepped on something suspicious. And hearing a sound reminiscent of a timer, he realized that he had already dropped out of the test. After which, there was an explosion, and the guy who activated the trap had his airbag deployed. Realizing that this could lead to panic, the captain asked to remain calm and not make any sudden movements. "I don't understand how they made these traps, because you can't take anything to this island except rune weapons," one of the guys shouted. "Captain, I realized what kind of team this is. Their captain took a mechanic with him. Let's retreat before it's too late," the girl whispered. After thinking for a moment, the captain answered, "No, this is our last chance to return. If we fail this time, we won't be able to earn the required number of points." In general, you can understand him. Everyone on this island wants only one thing: to get a place at the university, and for this, you need to take risks. Suddenly, there was the roar of an engine and the sound of creaking brakes from a truck nearby. With each passing second, this sound became louder. Luckily for them, the truck drove by and stopped not far from the school. And a moment later, Patrick came out of it, clearly agitated about something. Having opened the back doors, the guy started running away very quickly. He ran incredibly fast. People like him rarely run that fast. The guys from the enemy team thought it was strange that someone had driven a truck here and just opened the doors. But a wild roar coming from the van quickly explained everything, when suddenly the truck turned into a pile of scrap metal, and out jumped a 3-horned armadillo. A rank F monster. Seeing the ruined monster in front of them, the guys still couldn't understand what was happening. They could not understand how a monster that lives exclusively in the dense forests ended up right in the middle of an abandoned metropolis. And frankly speaking, they didn't have time to think about it all. because the battleship had chosen them as its victims, and the only thing left for them to do was just run away. But the guys from the enemy team were confused and froze, which led to 2 more team members being knocked out. Although wait, the car they were hiding behind flew straight at the girl. Wow, that's how it happens. With one attack, the monster takes out 3 participants at once. It turns out that out of the entire team, only the captain remained alive. Trying to escape from the monster, the boy decided to hide in the school. He knew that there was a whole team hiding here, but he had no other choice. Either try to hide here or die at the hands of the battleship. Once safe, this guy said, "Damn bastards. They brought a monster here on purpose. I'll rip their heads off for this. Hey, princess. For such words, I will twist your head off myself. Is that clear?" Patrick shouted angrily. "It's you! You brought that beast here," the guy screamed hysterically with tears in his eyes. "Don't be so mean. Let's fight instead. I can't wait to try out my new gear," Patrick replied, laughing. Of course, after defeating the tank, the guy took his shield too. And not only that, he also took the Taurus rune. All it took was one powerful push, and the enemy was finished. Even without ammunition, Patrick had a very strong physique and protection, and now these indicators are almost at the peak of his capabilities. Over the entire testing period, Patrick earned 33.5 points. Alone, he would never have achieved such a result. All this is only thanks to the team and coordinated work. During the same time, Jack earned 44 points, Zhang 32.5 points, Lululi exactly 32 points, and Tan 32 points. Thanks to Jack becoming the target, the team earned a whole bunch of points, and all the opponents who tried to come after him were defeated. But the rating will only be updated after 12 hours. Otherwise, all their team members would be in the top 10. The reward for winning the bounty hunt may be simply amazing, but it's too early to relax. Jack took the most advantageous position on the island, and the participants themselves came to him. And even then, he was only able to score 44 points. Who is this guy who was able to score as many as 52 points and take first place in the ranking even before the start of the special event? Patrick thought it was just another part of the test. I think it's time to meet him. Commander of Team Number 5, Master Rank E, Rune Sniper, ranked number 1 on the Cheng leaderboard. During the test, the examiners nicknamed him the Crazy Lone Wolf. He received this nickname because he killed all his comrades and more than 50 other people. The university recruit saw great potential in the guy, but was wary of his methods of work. Even Examiner An recognized his abilities. However, he saw him not as a potential, but as a threat. For now, all they can do is just watch Cheng. Meanwhile, the bounty hunt event has ended, and all members of Team 537 have risen in the rankings. Against the background of Cheng, our hero looked like a real hero in the eyes of the examiner, who allowed his team to earn the necessary points. When suddenly a frightened scientist ran into the captain's cabin, followed by examiner Shin. Seeing this, An realized that they were in trouble. Having caught the scientist, Shin began to threaten him with physical violence if he said anything. But the chief examiner quickly intervened in their conversation and ordered his colleague to release the scientist. "Anya, you have nothing to worry about. This idiot thinks that new wormholes will open. But I saw the data. Everything is fine. I've encountered this situation many times when I was the chief examiner." Shin pushed the scientist away with a sly smile. But then, scientists shouted, "No, this has never happened before. Now there is a real threat." Not knowing what to do, Anya personally decided to take a look at the incoming data. And to be honest, the situation was critical. Magnetic fluctuations reached their peak. Realizing that the threat was very real, the man shouted, "Attention everyone! Stop the test and send shuttles to immediately transport all participants back to port." "Anne, you bastard! I told you, it's nothing special. What are you doing?" Shin shouted, blushing with anger. "I've been patient for a long time, but I had to shut your mouth for a while. If a new wormhole appears, all participants will die. And for this, it will be me and you," answered Anya. "And if there are no wormholes, what then?" "Calm down," Shin added. "Don't worry, I'll take all the responsibility," the man answered. In any case, this arrangement suited Shin. He truly believed that the wormholes would not open, and that next year he would be given back the post of chief examiner. But then the situation changed dramatically. the examiner's ship found itself in the epicenter of a strong storm. All security systems were activated, and the shuttle went into alarm. But that's not the worst news. The thunderstorm they were caught in was only the result of a wormhole outbreak. Fortunately, the ships intended to evacuate the participants had already approached the island. But at the moment of landing, several dozen powerful lightning bolts hit them, completely destroying them. And at that moment, a protective barrier was activated over the island, designed to protect the participants from sea monsters. Meanwhile, new wormholes began to open on the island, and quite predictably, various runic beasts began to appear from the space portals. The biggest problem is that wormholes open all over the island at once. This means that finding a safe place is almost impossible. The storm damaged the protective barrier's control system, making it impossible to enter the island. And due to severe damage to the main shuttle, it is also impossible to contact the participants. In those couple of minutes, when everything became even worse, Shin realized that he was wrong. Perhaps the biggest problem was that it was impossible to enter the island, which meant that it would not be possible to evacuate the participants either. Participants whose strength is at a very dubious level will have to fight all these monsters on their own. At the moment the wormholes opened, real panic began on the main shuttle. Most people had already accepted that all the participants were dead, but Anne did not agree. He, as the chief examiner, checks the safety of all participants. He ordered a group of scientists to immediately develop a plan to penetrate the protective barrier. The man understood that every second of inaction could cost someone's life. When a group of scientists reported that only a powerful explosion could destroy this barrier, An ordered to immediately contact the Eastern Military District and ask them for a Rune atomic cannon. He then ordered new communication systems to be set up to coordinate the participants. And before the arrival of the necessary weapons, all available personnel must assess the scale of the wormholes. In short, the rescue operation has begun. The communication system was completely destroyed. The only way to contact the participants was to open a hole in the barrier and launch a communication mobile phone inside. The commander of the Eastern Military District reported that the gun would only be here in the morning. Scientists analyzed the wormholes that opened up. Fortunately, they were F-rank portals. This news gave hope that the participants would be able to hold out until the morning. After all, monsters higher than rank C are unlikely to appear. When suddenly, recruits from the universities approached Anya. Mr. Chief Examiner, the atomic cannon is not a simple weapon. It will take another half-day. By that time, the island's safe zone will be closed. She's right. By that time, all the participants will already be killed, the old man added sadly. There was meaning in the recruit's words, and ordered his men to contact the delivery team and ask them to speed up so that the cannon would be here by midnight. When everyone was busy with their own affairs, the man said, "Deputy Shin, you ignored the scientists' warning and prevented them from notifying me, right?" "Anya, you," the man answered in a trembling voice. "Enough. As soon as this is over, you will be punished," added the chief examiner. Shin understood that he was to blame for everything that was happening now, and he would also be punished. Meanwhile, our heroes were still at school. After the headhunting, they wanted to rest. But a loud noise and an earthquake changed their plans. Patrick thought it was just another part of the test, but then Lulu noticed the protective field. After thinking for a while, Tan said, "Guys, I have bad news. These are wormhole flashes. I'm not 100% sure of this yet, but everything points in that direction." Approaching the edge of the roof, Jack saw dozens of portals that had opened and did not understand that Tan's fears had been confirmed. Realizing the situation they were in, Patrick screamed hysterically, "We're all going to die. We're food." This is the second time that Jack has encountered the discovery of wormholes. When he was still a child, both of his parents died in a disaster caused by a wormhole outbreak, and it was there that he found Scarlet. At this moment, the feeling of anger completely filled the mind of our hero when suddenly a system mission appeared, the goal of which is to save as many participants as possible. The more participants are saved, the higher the reward. Given the conditions of the competition, completing this mission will be quite problematic. For saving more than 200 participants, Jack will receive the status of champion and a runestone of the E rank. Now, in our hero's head, there is only one question: how to save them all if the rules of the test require knocking each other out. While Jack was thinking about what to do, Patrick grabbed him by the leg, and with tears in his eyes, he begged to save him. But in response, our hero only hit Patrick in the face with his boot, after which he said, "Everyone calm down. Panic is our worst enemy. According to my observations, it is a wormhole of rank F. This means that most of the beasts are F rank, with a small chance of E rank beasts appearing. With our abilities, we can handle them." Tan and Zhang suggested taking up defensive positions inside the school and waiting for evacuation. After listening to his teammates, Jack said, "No, there are many other participants outside who can die if they are not helped. If you stay in school, I will understand and will not insist. But I will not abandon the other participants," added our hero. Of course, Patrick tried to dissuade him from this idea, because it was very dangerous. Well, Tan wanted to help Jack save the rest of the guys. "Are you both crazy? They'll kill us at any opportunity," Patrick screamed hysterically. Trying to calm the guy down, our hero took him by the shoulder and said, "Listen, do you remember the oath you took when you became a master of runes? The strong must shed blood for the weak. We work hard to become strong. Isn't it to protect the weak? If we act like cowards now, what's the point of living? Our hero added. These words touched Patrick's soul, but the fear did not go away. When suddenly Tan shouted, "I agree. Even if we might die, I don't want to be a coward." "Hey, mechanic, did you just call me a cable, or did I just hear it wrong?" Patrick shouted indignantly. "I'm scared too, but I won't hide and watch people die when I can help," Lulu said in a trembling voice. "Well, fearlessness is something I've always considered my strong point. I think it's time to kill some beasts," Zhang added enthusiastically. Not wanting to leave the team, Patrick agreed to go with them. From this moment on, I, captain of team number 537, declare the rescue operation commenced, Jack shouted joyfully. His main mission was to save as many participants as possible while preserving the lives of all team members. Meanwhile, in the city, in the business center of the trading platform, Erica watched the live broadcast of the storm trial. Seeing that wormholes had opened on the island, she realized that Jack was in big trouble.